Welcome to Audiobook Universe. I, the Grandson of Garp, scared Luffy into tears. Chapters 26 to 50. At this time, Lun had put on a loose white shirt again, covered the obviously bulging violent muscle lines on his body, and asked Garp casually. "That's right, the destruction of the White Ostrich pirates this time is entirely due to you alone. I don't want to covet the credit of you, a hairy boy. Don't worry. This old man will report to the Navy branch the truth about the extermination of the White Ostrich pirates. No one can take away the credit that belongs to you. So, you kid, I'm afraid you're going to be famous this time. A 4-year-old kid who killed a pirate group by himself, with a bounty of up to 20 million berries in total. If nothing else, after this incident, your reputation will surely resonate throughout the entire world. East China Sea. How are you feeling at this moment?" Garp was all smiles. "Heard." Lun smiled, "It feels okay." Seeing Lun in front of him, he didn't feel any psychological discomfort because of the murder, which finally made Garp feel completely relieved. At the same time, he couldn't help feeling overwhelmed. Really? This kid Lun is a natural powerhouse. Whether it is talent, still heart, almost impeccable. Born with the potential to become the top powerhouse in the sea. Chapter 20 The East China Sea Naval Branch Fortress. Arrival. 3 more. A day later. Clear sky. Clear skies. East China Sea. Naval Branch Fortress. This is the largest naval base in the East China Sea. The main part is built on the sea level, covering an area of no less than 10 square kilometers. It can be regarded as a small town. The naval branch fortress was surrounded by hundreds of miles of sea area. Look around. Wang Yang, the sea is endless. There is only one towering fortress, standing on the sea level, as the only embellishment of the empty sea area with a radius of hundreds of miles, and the only reference. The Naval Branch Fortress base has everything, and all the daily necessities for daily life can be purchased in the branch fortress. Simply put, this Naval Branch Fort base, in addition to being used to detain the most vicious pirates in the sea, is also equivalent to a small prosperous town. There can be no less than 100,000 navy in it. For now, as the largest naval fortress base in the East China Sea, this base houses about 30,000 navy, and also detains 50,000 pirates and the base prison. As you can imagine. How large is this naval base fortress? Although the East China Sea is the weakest among the 4 sea areas, the largest naval branch fortress used to guard one sea area still has to be seated by a vice admiral in person. So, the largest naval branch base in the East China Sea is home to a powerful vice admiral. This day, a medium-sized naval warship, under the control of the Navy on the deck, sent the entire warship to return to the direction of the East China Sea Naval Branch Base. The sea breeze blows. The white seagull flag that hangs high symbolizes the absolute fairness, justice of the Navy. On the deck of a warship, hundreds of Navy members stood, headed by a second lieutenant wearing a Navy's justice coat, with bright eyes, a saber on his waist, and sunglasses. He was burly and powerful. Gradually, as the warship arrived at the base of the naval branch fortress, instantly, rumbling. The incomparably huge stone gate of the base was slowly opened from the inside, and there was a sound like thunder, which was deafening. Whoa! The sea splashed up. The sea surface was set off by waves of ripples, and the waves spread. With the door open, the entire medium-sized warship entered the base. Back to base. After entering the gate, the warship arrived at the port in a short time and docked at the position next to the port. Anchor. Stop the boat. Hundreds of Navy officers led by Second Lieutenant Damas, escorting a pirate in handcuffs, slowly stepped off the warship and prepared to be sent to the prison of the Naval Branch Fortress for detention. At the same time, when the navy in the port saw the pirates escorted by dames and other navies, the atmosphere at the scene became noisy and lively. Fuck? I read that right. The pirate who was captured by Lieutenant Dames himself, is the pirate King Carl? A pirate with a bounty of 6 million berries. As expected of Lieutenant Dames. Even the big pirate with a bounty of 6 million berries was caught easily. Lieutenant Dames is too strong. Lots of talk. Hearing the touted voices of the Navy in his ears, Dames showed a proud smile. In order to capture the thief King Carl, he can be said to have spent a lot of energy, and he has almost survived many times. If he is not stronger, he may be planted. Small scene, small scene. Dame's mouth curled slightly. This high-profile scene made him feel physically and mentally happy. After catching the thief King Carl, who has a bounty of 6 million berries, I'm a step closer to being promoted from second lieutenant to lieutenant. 6 million big pirates. This is a great credit. With joy in his heart, Damas escorted the King of Thieves Carl to leave the port under the eyes of many admirers. But right now... wow! There was an uproar in the atmosphere. Quick! Look at you! Another warship is here. And... it doesn't seem to be a warship belonging to our East China Sea. What a huge warship! The navy in the port was full of astonishment, staring blankly at a behemoth traveling from afar. Also a navy ship. But... whether it is style or aura, it is far from the warship that Dames just drove, and it can be compared. Immediately after, numerous navies also see. In addition to this huge warship, they saw a large-scale pirate ship right behind the warship. Yes, is it a pirate ship? What happened? Why is there a pirate ship behind the warship? Pirates attack. No, it's not quite right. Look, that pirate ship seems to have been controlled by our navy. In other words, all the pirates on that pirate ship have been arrested and annihilated. In addition to the uproar, Damas, who had been standing in the port for a long time, suddenly shrank his pupils, his face a little suspicious. Seeing that slightly broken pirate ship, he suddenly thought of an unforgettable past event. Some time ago, a powerful pirate group repatriated from the Great Waterway appeared in the East China Sea. At that time, Damas personally led the troops to pursue and capture the pirate group. At last, he failed. Fiasco. Killed by that pirate group. Killing is losing ground. Dames had no choice but to grit his teeth and give up the pursuit, and return to the Navy headquarters in despair. The failure of this mission made Dames the laughingstock of the naval branch. And this is the biggest shame in his life. The pirate group that repelled Damas and the others. Its name is White Ostrich Pirates. This. No way. Is that pirate ship? Dame's throat was dry, and his face was full of horror and horror. He stared blankly at the pirate ship that followed closely behind the warship. He is too familiar with that pirate ship. Just absolutely hate it. Did not expect. Today, I actually saw this pirate ship being sent to the Naval Branch Fortress base. What does that mean? That is to say, the White Ostrich pirates were destroyed by the group. How is this possible? Such a powerful White Ostrich pirate group, even I can do nothing. Who exactly killed the White Ostrich pirates? Although Dames didn't want to admit it, he had to. With the overall combat power of the White Ostrich pirates, unless the lieutenant general responsible for guarding the fortress of the naval branch is personally involved. Otherwise, basically no one can win the White Ostrich pirates. It is for this reason that, at this moment, the White Ostrich pirate ship that appeared in the naval branch fortress made Damas's performance so shocking. At the same time, the navy standing in the port also gradually revealed the identity of the pirate ship. Fuck. Really? That's actually the White Ostrich pirates. This is a pirate group with a total bounty of 20 million berries. Looking at the East China Sea, who has the capital to annihilate the entire White Ostrich pirates? It's really the White Ostrich pirates. It's absolutely true. It is said that the captain of the White Ostrich Pirates, White Ostrich Kyokuri, is a devil fruit user of the animal system, and the bounty is as high as 11 million berries. Who has the strength to not only take down the famous big pirate White Ostrich Kyokuri, but also wipe out the entire White Ostrich pirate group? The atmosphere was hot. All scrambling to guess. This person. What exactly is sacred? Dong Hai, when did a monster of this level appear? Damas, who was standing in the port, stared at the huge warship with shocking eyes, eager to know the truth. Chapter 21. Didn't I say it? It was my grandson who killed the White Ostrich pirates. 4 more flowers. Ask for a ticket. Warship. On the deck. Lun stood on the edge of the fence, looking at the whole fortress of the entire naval branch base with a slightly curious expression. This is a huge fortress, like a fortress. Easy to defend, hard to attack. Indestructible. Even if 100,000 pirates completely surround the sea area, it is absolutely impossible to easily capture this huge naval base fortress. When building this naval base fortress, it was clear that the Navy had taken various factors into consideration. Not only is it difficult to break through this fortress from the outside, but even the pirates who are imprisoned inside have a hard time escaping from this base fortress. This is the largest naval branch base in the East China Sea. Lun was very interested. In a while. The location of the warship close to the port. Anchor. Stop the boat. Immediately after. Lun followed a group of navies, got off the warship and came to this port area. From all directions, a pair of eyes full of curiosity and awe, gathered at the same time. Everyone obeys the order and escorts all the pirates on board. As Garp's confidant, Pakuto took the initiative to replace Garp and gave orders as the commander on the scene. These complicated things, Garp naturally does not need to do it himself. Before rushing to this naval branch base, Garp had already contacted the vice admiral who was in charge of guarding the base through the phone bug. At this moment, I think that the other party is already on the way to the port. As predicted. In less than a moment. A middle-aged man with a pot belly trotted all the way to the port from a distance. He was wearing the Navy's unique Justice Cape, and his body was round, and he didn't seem to have the majesty and posture of a vice admiral at all. From the appearance alone, no one would have imagined that this was actually a vice admiral. His name is Roster, the vice admiral in charge of guarding the fortress of the East China Sea Naval Branch Base. The strength is not bad. Although it is not as good as the Vice Admiral of the Navy headquarters, but in the waters of the East China Sea, except for those hidden old monsters, this Vice Admiral Roster can definitely be said to be a top-notch combat force. The Vice Admiral of the Navy headquarters and the Vice Admiral of the Navy branch are two completely different concepts. The identity gap is huge. Lieutenant General Garp, you've worked hard. Roster came to Garp with a cautious and respectful expression. Not to mention Garp's prominent status as a Lieutenant Admiral of the Navy headquarters, and the prestige of Garp, a naval hero alone, is enough for Roster to show the highest respect for Garp. Lieutenant General Rossiter? Please order your staff to take all the pirates here into the prison at the base. Garp looked calm. Yes, Lieutenant General Garp. Rossiter nodded quickly. Next. Following Garp's order, Roster hurriedly ordered the surrounding navies to take over the broken pirate ship and the handcuffed pirates on board to prison. At this time, when the surrounding navy saw Garp's figure, they suddenly realized. It turns out that Lieutenant General Garp killed the White Ostrich pirates. Everything makes sense now. If Lieutenant General Garp went out in person, a mere White Ostrich pirate group would be nothing to be afraid of. I just said, how could such a powerful existence suddenly appear in our East China Sea? I didn't expect it to be Lieutenant General Garp. Lots of talk. Dames was also stunned. Garp's illustrious reputation is reverberating even in the 4 seas. In the Navy, the prestige of the hero Garp is considered to be the top group. Even today's Admiral Gang Kong Kong may not have the prestige and influence of the hero Garp. It turns out that the monster who killed the White Ostrich pirates was Lieutenant General Garp. Dames was stunned. Gradually, as all the pirates on the entire pirate ship were taken into prisons, as the commander of the largest naval base in the East China Sea, Ross hurriedly repaid Lun with his gratitude. The White Ostrich pirates are really rampant. In recent days, they have been frantically burning, killing and looting in the East China Sea, making the people of the East China Sea hard to live. Fortunately, Lieutenant General Garp, you are willing to take action and solve such a huge tumor for Donghai. Otherwise, there will be endless troubles. Lieutenant General Garp can rest assured that I will definitely report this action to the headquarters truthfully. Knowing the heroic Garp's reputation, Roster certainly did not dare to make such a foolish act of coveting credit. Furthermore, just a pirate with a bounty of over 10 million yuan, but for Lieutenant General Rossiter, it's actually nothing more than a little. He simply didn't have the spare time to deal with the White Ostrich pirates, but it didn't mean that he didn't have the ability to deal with this cancer. For this credit, Ross, the dignified Vice Admiral, naturally disliked it. You wait first. Before Roster was about to leave, Garp suddenly stopped the other party. Do you dare to ask Lieutenant General Garp what else is there to order? Rossiter asked. Didn't I say it just now? Looking at Roster's puzzled eyes, Garp pointed to Lun who was standing beside him, and said bluntly, it's not me who solved the White Ostrich pirates. But my grandson Lun. He used his own power to destroy the entire White Ostrich pirates. He killed the White Ostrich Kyukalai alone, the animal demon fruit person. So, this is his credit. This point, you have to remember it clearly, and don't make a mistake when reporting it up. The words fall. The noisy scene became silent. Silent. A pair of astonished eyes fixed on Lun who was standing beside Garp one after another. Watching. With Lun's thin body of only a few years old, a group of Navy members were instantly dumbfounded. Lieutenant General Garp, you're really joking. With the brief silence, Roster coughed dryly, glanced at Lun, then looked at Garp again, and squeezed out an embarrassed smile. Obviously, he couldn't believe what Garp had just said. A 4-year-old child killing a pirate group alone? Moreover, is it still a pirate group with a total bounty of 20 million berries? He even killed a bounty of up to 11 million berry alone. As the animal-type devil fruit ability, the captain of the White Ostrich pirates, White Ostrich Kyukalai. Is it possible? Rossiter laughed. This is not realistic. Even if Lieutenant General Garp wanted to help his younger generation, he shouldn't be so exaggerated. If this is reported according to Lieutenant General Garp's words, just ask. Who believes? It is clear. Rossi thought subconsciously. Garp made the exaggerated remarks just now to help the younger generation. Do you think the old man is joking? With a strange expression, Garp patted Roster's shoulder deeply, pointing to the hundreds of navies standing in the port, as well as the group of pirates who were escorted to prison in handcuffs. He smiled, if you don't believe it, you can ask these people. They have witnessed the details of what the old man said just now. That batch of pirates. They are all participants and victims of this incident. Heard. Rossiter's pupils shrank slightly, with a look of surprise. He couldn't help taking a deep breath. He looked suspiciously at Garp in front of him. The other party didn't seem to be joking at all, but a serious expression on his face. Turned. He looked to the other side again. Looking at the hundreds of navies in the port, they all faced each other in unison, and Lun, who was standing beside Garp, cast a look of awe. This moment, Rossiter began to realize faintly. Things are a little unusual. It's not as simple as I thought. Could it be that Lieutenant General Garp, everything he said just now is true? Well, it won't. A 4-year-old kid who killed a pirate group with a reward of tens of millions by himself. How is this possible? Thinking of this, Roster couldn't help feeling deeply moved and gaff. Chapter 22 The Naval Branch is sensational. 4-year-old monster. One more update. 3K chapter. Call. Exhaling heavily, Roster forcibly suppressed the shock and horror in his heart, and looked at Lun with solemn and suspicious eyes. Quite a while. He said to Garp, Lieutenant General Garp can rest assured that I will report to the truth. Okay, the old man will never cheat on this kind of thing. You can check whether everything the old man said is true. Garp saw through Roster's inner doubt at a glance. He didn't care, he didn't take it seriously. This year. No one believes the truth? No wonder. Just weird. The old man's grandson Lun is really a genius. At the age of 4, he destroyed a powerful pirate group. Presumably. Anyone who hadn't seen it with their own eyes would be deeply suspicious of this. Lieutenant General Garp, I don't doubt what you said. Only. Rossiter hurriedly explained. No need to say more, the old man understands. It's official business. Garp smiled. Thank you Lieutenant General Garp for your understanding. Rossiter was secretly relieved. This one is standing at the top of the Navy in front of him. He is a little Lieutenant General of the Naval Branch, and of course he dare not offend the hero in front of him, Garp. Boyle Win, let's go. After explaining a few words, Garp led Lun back to the warship. Hundreds of navies in the port also followed in Garp's footsteps and returned to warships. Including Pakuto, Garp's henchman. Pass my order and set off back to Windmill Village. Garp gave an order. Gradually. This means that OU's huge warship left the port again, drifted further away, left the naval branch, and made a return trip in the direction of Windmill Village. When the entire warship has completely left, Rossiter was able to breathe a sigh of relief. Standing in front of Garp just now, he was under a lot of pressure. Even though he is also a Vice Admiral, he has never forgotten that the Vice Admiral Garp of the Navy headquarters in front of him is the most prestigious naval hero in the Navy. In the middle of the day. More influential than the Admiral of the Navy headquarters. At this time, Dames quietly came to Roster's side, his throat was dry, and he couldn't help asking, Lieutenant General, don't you think that everything Lieutenant General Garp said just now is true? A 4-year-old child. The group wiped out the White Ostrich pirates. Do you think this is really possible? Dames was equally incredulous about what Garp said. To know. The White Ostrich pirates, but even the Navy group he personally led were killed and retreated. How can he accept it? A 4-year-old child. Do something that even their hundreds of navies can't do? One-person team to destroy the White Ostrich pirates? It sounds like a dream to Dames. Too exaggerated. How can there be such a monster in this sea? Dames was deeply skeptical. Is it true or false? Find someone to ask the pirates who were escorted to the prison to know the answer. The real cannot be fake, the fake cannot be real. Lieutenant General Garp has a prominent reputation and awe-inspiring justice, so he won't cheat for this matter. Rossiter thought for a moment and said. Do you really believe what Lieutenant General Garp said? This. Dames was shocked. No, I can't judge right now. Later, I will personally interrogate that group of pirates. Presumably. These pirates must know this. Ross said bluntly. Lieutenant General, I also want to go see it. Dames pleaded hastily. Okay, you come with me. In a while. The two came to the branch base where the pirates were held in prison. Under the leadership of several navies. Roster and Damas came to a prison responsible for detaining the pirates who had just taken in. Coincidentally, a pirate Hazy seemed to wake up from a dream. Opening his eyes, he saw Roster and Dames. Next, I ask, you answer. Understand? Don't talk too much nonsense to me. Otherwise, I can't guarantee that you will not suffer from some flesh and blood. Rossiter was expressionless. Lord High and Navy, I will answer your questions truthfully. After waking up, the pirate nodded in panic. I ask you, who killed your white ostrich pirates? Rossett straight to the point, stepping into the subject. Aside. Damas looked at the pirate with anticipation in his eyes. Under the eyes of the two, the pirate seemed to be caught in a memory. Then, this pirate seemed to be crazy, his eyes were bloodshot and frightened, and his voice trembled one after another. Devil, devil! That's a devil! Everyone on the boat is dead. That kid, he's as strong as a monster. He was alone and destroyed our entire pirate group. Even the boss, Kyukuri, was smashed by that kid with 3 punches on the spot. That kid is like a tyrant. He swept everyone on our ship by himself. Mentioning this, the pirate looked terrified and could not hide his inner panic at all. See. Roster's throat was dry and he couldn't speak for a while. Hiss. His eyes were full of horror and shock, and he couldn't help taking a deep breath. What Lieutenant General Garp said. It's actually true. He was stunned. Standing beside him, Damas was also stupid. How can that be? The grandson of Lieutenant General Garp looks like a 4-year-old child. A 4-year-old child actually destroyed a pirate group by himself? And it's still a pirate group with a total bounty of 20 million berries. My God! What kind of monster is this? Dames turned pale, shocked. Never thought. A 4-year-old child has done such an earth-shattering act. One person kills a pirate group. One person kills a big pirate with a bounty of over 10 million, and he is also a devil fruit ability user of the animal system. Lieutenant General Garp's grandson. It's too monster, isn't it? Rao is a vice admiral, Rossiter, who was stunned by the facts found out at this moment. Pirates with a bounty of more than 10 million berries are definitely not part of the weak in the East China Sea. Otherwise, Dames, the second lieutenant in the Navy, will not be beaten by the other side and flee and be defeated. However, it is such a powerful group of pirates, but today, it was tragically destroyed by a 4-year-old child. If this is spread, who dares to believe it? Quite a while. Roth took Dames out of prison. The two separated with a very shocking mood. Roster needs to brew his emotions and take some time to calm down before he can use the phone bug to report the matter. Dames, on the other hand, returned to the port with a shocked mood. Oncoming. A group of curious navies gathered around Dames and asked. Lieutenant Dames, is what Lieutenant General Garp said just now true? The white ostrich pirates were really wiped out by a 4-year-old child. Is that impossible? How strong can a 4-year-old be? I always feel that Lieutenant General Garp is probably exaggerating. I think so. Lots of talk. Under the curious eyes of many navies. Damas' throat was dry, and he told the truth in a trembling voice. What Lieutenant General Garp just said is the truth. The white ostrich pirates were indeed wiped out by a 4-year-old child alone. The words fall. The whole place was dead silent. Roar for a moment. The atmosphere was fully detonated in an instant. The whole place shook. What? What? The white ostrich pirates were really wiped out by a 4-year-old boy. Fuck? How is this possible? Looking at the entire East China Sea, the white ostrich pirates are one of the most powerful pirate groups, and the total bounty is as high as 20 million berries. The captain, the white ostrich, Kyukuri, has been offered a bounty of 11 million berry for his animal-type devil fruit ability. Such a powerful pirate group was wiped out by a 4-year-old pirate. Oh my God! The 4-year-old boy named Lun just now, what kind of monster is he? With a piece of news that Dames brought from prison, the atmosphere on the port side was strongly ignited. It shocked all the navies on this side of the port. Dames was in a very bitter mood, emotions, I have worked hard for most of my life to cultivate, but in the end, I can't even compare to a 4-year-old child. This day, the naval branch base in the East China Sea ushered in an unprecedented sensation. Chapter 23 3-Year-Old Awakening Overlord? The Shock of the Admiral. Second update. 3K Chapter. East China Sea Naval Base Fortress. Office. Roster returned to his office with a shocked mood. Forcibly suppressing the shaking emotions, he slowly lifted the phone bug placed on the corner of the table, put it to his ear, and dialed the phone bug. Boo boo. The unique voice of the phone bug resounded in the huge office. Finally, the phone worm dialed. Roster? I'm Sora, did something happen over there in the East China Sea? A majestic voice came from the phone bug, buzzing around Roster's ears. He knows. Opposite the phone bug, is the Navy headquarters Marshal Sora, Supreme Commander of the Navy. Marshal Kong, I have something very important to report to you. Rossett took a deep breath, but his shocking mood could not calm down for a long time. What's up? Empty question. Today, Lieutenant General Garp took a pirate ship and a group of pirates to the base fortress in the East China Sea for detention. It was a pirate group with a total bounty of 20 million berries. Rossiter spoke slowly. Only this matter? It's not enough for you to contact me personally for such a trivial matter, right? Sora, who is the Admiral of the Navy, knows that Garp is in his hometown of the East China Sea. Also, isn't it common for a pirate group with a bounty of 20 million berries to be won by Garp? So, Sora was deeply perplexed by Roster's presence today. But that pirate group was not taken down by Lieutenant General Garp. Instead, Lieutenant General Garp's grandson, a 4-year-old child, with his own strength, he killed a pirate group with a total bounty of 20 million berries. Roster began to tell the truth. The sound fell. He can see keenly. Marshal Kong, who was opposite the phone bug, began to breathe a little disorderly. What did you say? Cap's grandson. A 4-year-old kid killed a pirate group with a bounty of 20 million berries. You sure? Obviously, this matter moved Kong Shen deeply. A 4-year-old child, destroying a pirate group with a reward of over 10 million berry? If this is true, that is too amazing. This is absolutely true. My subordinates have already pried off the voice of that group of pirates. The information obtained from this batch of pirates shows everything. This pirate group was indeed annihilated by Lieutenant General Garp's grandson Lun, a 4-year-old child alone. Until now, Roster is still deeply shocked and unbelievable. You let me calm down first. Cap, when did you have a grandson? I do not know how. And also, his 4-year-old grandson is too scary. But it's only 4 years old, enough to destroy a pirate group with a reward of over 10 million berry. This amazing talent is simply enchanting. Compared to Garp's talent, I'm afraid it's even more terrifying. Sora's tone was also full of horror. Is this the case that the blue is better than the blue? Cap, this guy finally did something worthy of praise. She gave birth to a grandson with unparalleled talent. Add fresh blood to the future of the Navy. Okay, I already know about it. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up first. Sora hung up the phone first. It is located in the Marshal's office of Marine Vandalai in the Navy headquarters. He picked up the phone bug in his hand and walked to the window step by step, looking at the group of Navy recruits who were constantly practicing in the squares of Marinfondo. Think again and again. Sora dialed the phone bug again. Boo boo. A unique voice echoes through the huge office. In a while, the phone bug was dialed. Marshal Kong? I'm Sengoku. A calm voice of the warring states came from the opposite side. I ask you something. Leaning against the window, holding the phone bug in his hand, he asked, do you know about Garp having a grandson? The words fall. The Sengoku on the opposite side was slightly silent. Quite a while. Warring States just opened his mouth to answer. I know, Garp contacted me once last month and mentioned something about his grandson Lun. Heard. Sora continued to ask, then do you know that Garp's grandson, Lun, is actually an extremely talented genius? I found out last month. Warring States had no choice but to use the phone bug to tell the truth about what happened at that time. A month ago, Garp contacted me late at night and took the initiative to tell me. His grandson Lun. On that night, I awakened the domineering arrogance on my own. An example of a 3-year-old awakening the domineering arrogance of a king was born. The voice just fell. Gang Gukong, who was holding the phone bug, shivered all over, and almost threw the phone bug in his hand out of the window next to him. The words of the Warring States period. It really frightened Sora quite a bit. What did you just say? Sora's eyes widened, he could hear it through the phone bug, and his voice was full of a strong sense of shock. Awakened overlord at the age of 3. You sure? Cap's grandson, is he so monstrous? At first I thought. He has high enough opinion of Garp's grandson Lun. But now, after hearing what Warring States just said, he suddenly woke up. Turned out to be. He never really understood. What a terrifying monster is Garp's grandson Lun. An example of a 3-year-old awakened overlord. It's timeless. At least. There hasn't been a similar example in over 100 years. Marshal Kong, don't you know about this? I thought that you came to me today to find out all kinds of information about Garp's monster grandson. The Warring States tone is weird. Of course I don't know. Kong scolded, what are you and Garp going to do? Such a good seed. He is a good seed for a future general. Why don't you report it to me at all? This is a once-in-a-100-year shocking genius. Do you know what this kind of genius means to our navy? What our navy lacks the most is this kind of genius monster. It's okay to be stupid like Garp. When did you become so stupid in the Warring States period? How could you keep such an important matter from me? As Garp's best friend, don't you know how bad Garp's education is? Have you forgotten what Garp's son has done over the years? He can't even teach his son. You expect him to teach his grandson well. The dignified Admiral Steel Skeleton was chattering like a shrew at this moment. The opposite Sengoku was scolded and could not refute. I can tell you clearly. This grandson of Garp, Lun, his talent is really amazing. Definitely the most talented genius I've ever seen in my life. If I don't bring him back to the Navy headquarters as soon as possible to teach him carefully, I'm worried that this kind of peerless genius will be misled by the Garp again. At that time, our Navy will not cry if we find a place to cry. Warring States, can you give me some snacks? If this time, Garp's genius grandson is taken crooked again. I'm sure that over time, with the world-shattering talent this kid possesses, he will surely create an unprecedented terrifying enemy for the Navy. An enemy even more vicious, powerful, and terrifying than the dragon. All the spit in the air has been sprayed on the head of the phone bug. On the opposite side of the phone bug, Warring States subconsciously raised his right arm and wiped away the sweat that did not exist on his forehead. Don't worry, Marshal, Garp has told me. After a while, when his grandson meets his father, he will immediately bring his grandson back to Marinfondo without stopping. Warring States tells the truth. What? You mean to say? That son of Garp, still wants to meet Garp's grandson? No. Absolutely not. What if Garp's genius grandson is taken away by his son? Isn't our Navy just missing out on a once-in-a-100-year-old amazing genius? I will never allow this to happen. In a hurry. A 3-year-old awakened a tyrannical monster. If they were taken to the Revolutionary Army. Can't imagine it. What a terrifying enemy the future Navy needs to face. No. Absolutely stop this from happening. Warring States, pass my order. Call the troops immediately. Give me savagely and destroy all the known bases of the Revolutionary Army. Never let this Long go back to the East China Sea. Avoid the meeting between the two of them as much as possible. Sora gave the order without hesitation. Clear. The warring states responded quickly. Then, a silent war between the Navy and the Revolutionary Army. It will be about Lun alone. The whole sea. Suddenly, it became an undercurrent. Chapter 24 Dragon, is my son so talented? 3 more. 3 days later. East China Sea. Goya Kingdom, Windmill Village. The wind is sunny and the sky is clear. Early morning. There is still a little moisture in the air, but the simple villagers of Windmill Village have already devoted themselves to their busy work, showing their vitality. At this time, the port of Windmill Village is 5 kilometers away. In the azure sea, the white clouds above the sky are printed, and there are no ripples on the calm sea. Accompanied by a gentle breeze. Whoa! The sea surface ripples, and waves spread along with it. I see. A small merchant ship was moving slowly from afar, and the water on both sides was pushed aside on the sea surface, causing waves of ripples to spread in all directions. On the deck, there were only a few figures standing. Everyone wears a dark brown cloak, which completely covers their body shape and appearance, making it impossible for outsiders to see. One of the leaders was a thin, middle-aged man, tall and thin. Looked up. Hidden under the dark brown coat, is a face with tattoos engraved on the left half of the face, without eyebrows, and the facial features look a bit stern, cold, sharp, and hideous. He has a pair of piercing eyes, and there is boundless ambition in his eyes. The ambition is undoubtedly revealed from the bottom of his eyes, and he seems to have the will to embrace the world. This kind of person only needs to look at one glance, and his face can be unforgettable in a short period of time. This person is the founder and leader of the Revolutionary Army, Meng Qi-long. One is regarded by the world government as the most vicious criminal in the world. Even Roger, the Pirate King, is far less threatening to the world government than dragons. The threat nature of the Revolutionary Army is far more than the threat pirates bring to the world government. One is a villain who does no evil at sea. The other is a group with a purpose to overthrow the current ruling rules. By comparison, the latter is naturally more threatening. Certainly, it can be regarded as the biggest thorn in the eyes of the world government, but over the years, he has not been arrested in prison. This alone is enough to show the terrifying strength and formidable ability of the dragon itself. As the founder and leader of the Revolutionary Army, there is no doubt that the dragon's strength is naturally strong, and he must be ranked at the top of this sea. Only, in the past few days, the Navy seemed to be going crazy, and it was frantically carrying out destruction operations on some of the bases of the Revolutionary Army, which made Long feel confused and puzzling. Can you find out why the Navy has been so crazy in recent days? Long frowned, and asked a fat woman with a big face beside him. He never remembered. During this time, he has actively provoked the Navy. Arguably, the Navy should not be so mobilized, it should come to crusade and deal with their Revolutionary Army. The target the Navy has to deal with is the pirates. Only the world government can't wait to deal with their Revolutionary Army. These years, the Navy rarely took the initiative to attack the Revolutionary Army. But in the past few days, the abnormal behavior of the Navy has made Long feel a little clue and something is wrong. The main cause of the naval anomaly has been found. According to the people below, the information and intelligence conveyed indicate that what makes the Navy so anomalous is because of one person. A woman with a big face standing beside the dragon replied. This person is one of the cadres of the Revolutionary Army, Ivankov. Human king of the Demon Kingdom. Even if he looks at the sea, he is a strong man with decent strength. Ivankov, as the right-hand man of the Revolutionary Army leader Long, won Long's trust and was one of the founders of the Revolutionary Army in the early days. Because of one person? What do you mean? Just because of one person. The Navy went crazy and launched an attack on our Revolutionary Army base. For this reason, do you not hesitate to start a war? Who has such great ability? Let the entire Navy fight against our Revolutionary Army for this person. The dragon raised his brows, feeling even more confused about this. Actually, the reason why the Navy attacked the base of our Revolutionary Army like crazy. The main purpose is to prevent you from returning to the East China Sea. Prevent you from returning to your hometown, Windmill Village. Ivankov hesitated again and again, but chose to truthfully inform the information that he had found out. Stop me? Why? The dragon was confused. Heard. Ivankov took a deep breath and told the truth slowly, because of your son. 4 years ago, you brought back the Sun Lun from Donghai Windmill Village. People from the Navy are frantically trying to prevent your father and son from meeting. To this end, the Navy does not hesitate to send a large number of people to destroy the bases of our Revolutionary Army. Everything is because of your Sun Lun. The words fall. Long was even more incomprehensible. Why? Just to prevent our two fathers and sons from meeting? The Navy would not hesitate to go to war? This makes no sense either. Ivankov replied, because your Sun Lun is a genius. He was personally evaluated by the Admiral Gang Kong as a peerless genius once in a century. It's a monster who has awakened a domineering monster when he is only 3 years old. The Navy doesn't want to see this kind of peerless genius being completely swayed by you because of you. That's why the Navy keeps trying to prevent you from meeting your son at all costs. The Navy is afraid. They're afraid that your meeting with your son will bring this kind of peerless genius to the Revolutionary Army. Obviously. Your Sun Lun is a monster that even the Navy is afraid of. Even though he is only 4 years old now, he already has the peerless talent and potential that the Navy fears. The entire Navy is mobilizing and fighting because of your Sun Lun alone. Having said that, Ivankov's tone was also full of shock. Even she can't imagine. As the most terrifying force in this sea, one day, the Navy will be willing to mobilize the army for the sake of a 4-year-old child. Just ask. How monstrous is a 4-year-old child? Can the entire Navy be completely crazy for this one person? Cannot imagine. After listening to Ivankov's explanation, Long finally realized. No wonder. No wonder in the past few days, the Navy seems to be crazy, trying to prevent himself from returning to his hometown of the East China Sea. He even did not hesitate to ordering a large number of people to go to destroy the bases of the Revolutionary Army. Thus, many things can be explained. Awakened overlord at the age of 3. At this moment, Long blurted out subconsciously with a look of amazement, "Is my son so talented?" Chapter 25 Work hard. Ace, I wait for you to surpass me. 4 shifts. 3K Chapter. After half an hour. Merchant ships near the Windmill Village port. The dragon standing on the deck saw the appearance of his hometown again. Windmill Village. This is a place where he was born and raised. Even though he has become the leader of the Revolutionary Army, whenever he returns to his hometown of Windmill Village, the dragon will have a special feeling of intimacy. You are all waiting here. I'll be back when I go. After instructing Ivankov and other cadres of the Revolutionary Army, Long stepped forward and stepped into the shore port from the deck of the merchant ship. In his hands, holding a swaddle baby. It can be clearly seen that, not long after this baby was born, the skin on his body was wrinkled, and he was constantly fiddling with his hands and feet, looking like a small bean. Bow your head. Long looked at the swaddled baby in his arms with a kind of gentleness and kindness in his eyes. But soon, this emotion was completely suppressed by him. Dragon, don't we need to follow? Ivankov and others in the rear were a little uneasy. No need. If you follow me, I'm afraid you will cause more trouble. My father wasn't a fuel-efficient lamp. He won't do anything to me, but it doesn't mean that he won't do it to you. Once my father goes out in person, one of you will be counted as one, and neither of you will try to run. Remember, don't set foot in Windmill Village rashly. This is not a place you can set foot in. Long solemnly ordered. As a son, of course he deeply understands what a powerful and terrifying existence his old father Garp was. Take a step. Holding the baby in his arms, Long walked towards the familiar Windmill Village step by step. He has not returned to his hometown Windmill Village for many years. Corpo Mountains. Dardan family. The sun is shining brightly, and the golden sun shines down. The halo was imprinted on Lun's body, revealing his upper body full of muscular lines, and exuding a powerful aura that far surpassed his peers. 2 days ago, just after returning to the Windmill Village from the naval branch base in the East China Sea, Lun once again entered the devil-like training day after day. Cycle continuously. No slack. After each devil's training session, Lun could feel that his physical strength was growing by leaps and bounds. This stronger taste made him linger. No one can resist the taste of becoming stronger. 996th. 997. Beads of sweat the size of soybeans slowly flowed down from Lun's forehead. His body was completely soaked in sweat, and the sweat dripped down from his body crazily. The scorching sun on the horizon witnessed Lun's unremitting efforts. The reason why he can become stronger so fast. Not just because of the ghost back system. Also, more importantly, he keeps working hard. If you don't work hard, even if you have the ghost back system, it is impossible to achieve a rapid increase in one's own strength at a speed that can be called a leap like Lun. 1000. After doing 1000 push UPS, Lun let out a soft breath, dragged his slightly tired body, and lay down on the green grass next to him to rest. At first, 1000 push UPS are Lun's limit. As the time goes, now Lun's limit can probably reach tens of thousands of push UPS. So, these 1000 push UPS are just a warm-up ritual for him to start the devil's training. It's time for me to leave. Lun was deeply moved. He had a hunch. After leaving Windmill Village this time, I'm afraid I won't be able to return for a long time. It is unlikely that he will return to Donghai Windmill Village for at least a year and a half. He was already very familiar with the simple villagers here in Windmill Village, and he suddenly had to leave for a long time, which made him feel a little reluctant. And also, the Dardan family is a group of gentle and lovely bandits. During this time, Lun was under the care of the Dardan family. Call. Gently exhaling, Lun's ear sounded a system prompt. A total of gains in this practice: strength plus 0.001, speed plus 0.001, physical strength plus 0.001. After a 100-fold increase in the training effect, the host can obtain strength plus 0.1, speed plus 0.1, stamina plus 0.1. Moment. A weak warm current appeared out of thin air and rushed towards Lun's body, constantly scouring the internal organs of his body and transforming the strength of various attributes of his body. In the blink of an eye. Remodeled. The strength has become stronger again. Although only a slight increase in efficiency. But, this is just a workout. A small exercise can slightly improve one's own strength, which has already satisfied Lun. Clenching his fists, Lun felt the surging power in his body. He shook his head and sighed. Pity. The further back, the lower the physical strength gain you can get from exercising. If I want to continue to get stronger, obviously, it's not just about the devil's exercise. Lun was thoughtful. Want to make your own strength skyrocket? You must find another way. Can no longer blindly boring to carry out the devil exercise. The effect this can get is minimal. Further back, The effect is worse. This moment, Lun faintly began to look forward to going to the Navy headquarters to accept the orthodox training method formulated by the Navy headquarters for many years. As such, your own strength will definitely be able to get skyrocketing again and again. Hopefully, after I go to Marine Fando at the Navy headquarters, I will be able to improve my strength by leaps and bounds through the training method tailored by the Navy. For now, Lun has faintly felt a slight bottleneck. If you want to get stronger quickly, you can no longer follow the simple exercise method before. With the energy of the Navy headquarters, it is absolutely appropriate to customize a special cultivation method for Lun. Next, after a short rest, Lun threw himself into the hard training again. An hour later, Lun stopped training. Feeling the increase in physical strength, he showed a satisfied smile. Turn around slowly. The naked upper body, covered with muscular lines, exudes a sense of oppression under the sun. Lun looked at him with a smile, staring at little Ace who was training with him not far away, with an intriguing expression on his face. Since returning to Windmill Village a few days ago, Lun noticed it. Whenever I entered the devil-style training, I could always notice that Ace was quietly hiding in the dark and watching, as if he wanted to imitate his cultivation method. Want to imitate my cultivation method? Such a pity. Ace, you have no system. Not everyone who imitates my cultivation method can become stronger as quickly as I do. I'm not like you. I have the effect of 100 times the increase in cultivation. Lun laughed. He could understand Ace's mentality. I think it is because, some time ago, I killed a pirate group by myself, which caused an excessively strong impact on Ace's young mind. It also made Ace truly experience it deeply. The far distance between him and himself. Simply a world of difference. There is no comparison. It is for this reason that Ace will try his best to imitate Lun's cultivation method, eager to catch up with Lun's footsteps, not to be left behind. However, in Lun's view, Ace's idea is good. But, do you want to achieve Lun's level of strength with the devil's training? This is obviously not realistic. Lun's cultivation method is definitely not something others can follow. Fight from the beginning. Ace walked into a misunderstanding of thinking. Work hard, Ace. I'm waiting for the day you surpass me. Although, that may be a long way off. Lun glanced at Ace's direction, then withdrew his gaze and stopped looking at it too much. Just as he was about to take the next step of cultivation. Tread tap. A burst of hurried footsteps suddenly came from the front. Then, can see. A bandit member of the Dodden family was running to Lun anxiously, with a little sweat on his forehead. When I saw Lun, his eyes lit up and he quickly blurted out, Lun, I finally found you. Mr. Garp told you to put down everything at hand and return to Windmill Village immediately. Mr. Garp said. Your father has returned. Chapter 26 The Arrival of the Dragon. Meet Luffy. 5 more flowers. Ask for a ticket. The voice of the bandit from the Dodden family just fell. Lun abruptly stopped his current actions. My father. Dragon. This time, I'm afraid not only my cheap father-long is back, but also my stupid brother. Lun narrowed his eyes slightly, feeling a hunch in his heart. As early as a month ago, he was fully prepared for this. I see. Next. Lun said goodbye to the bandit of the Dodden family and left the Corbo Mountains alone. After half an hour, he returned to the familiar Windmill Village smoothly. The Corbo Mountains are not too far from the Windmill Village, and the journey back and forth takes an hour for ordinary people to travel. However, Lun, who was moving at full speed, only took half an hour to return to the Windmill Village from the Corbo Mountains. As soon as I entered the Windmill Village, I was greeted by a simple and amiable villager. Boy Lun, long time no see. Some time ago, I heard that you were sent to the Corbo Mountains by your grandfather? I remember that there are countless dangerous beasts buried in that mountain range. I feel relieved when I see that you are all right. Don't worry about it, old man. With Lun's ability, even if he goes to the Corbo Mountains, he is the only one who can harm those beasts. Don't forget, Lun's strength is not simple. A group of amiable villagers greeted Lun with smiles all over their faces. It took a lot of effort. Lun was able to break free from the greetings of these villagers. The hometown is to the east of Windmill Village. In less than a moment, Lun turned left and right back to the front of the house. Haven't entered the house yet. Then I heard the voice of an unfamiliar man inside. Boylwyn, come in. Garp's voice followed. Then, Lun stepped through the door and returned to his familiar and unfamiliar residence. At first glance, he saw a thin man in a dark brown coat, without eyebrows, with scarlet tattoos on his left face. A pair of eyes are bright and full of ambition. This familiar face. Let Lun be able to judge the identity of the other party at first glance. Not surprisingly, this thin man is his cheap father Long. This is an incompetent father. Just born. Leave Lun to Garp to take care of. Except for the time when he was just born, Lun had seen the dragon, and in the next few years, he had almost never heard of the dragon. No sound. It's like evaporating. This time, seeing the dragon's face again made Lun feel strange. But okay. Lun is a transmigrator after all, and he was wise when he was born, so that he would not completely forget the real face of the cheap old dragon. In general, Lun doesn't have too deep feelings for cheap dad dragon. By comparison, compared with grandfather Garp, the relationship between Lun and Garp is much deeper. Although Grandpa Garp is also very unreliable on weekdays, he has taken good care of Lun for many years. Plus, Garp's concern comes from the heart, and it can't be faked. Therefore, over the years, Lun completely adapted to the grandfather Garp. Now, when facing this sudden cheap old dragon, he felt a little uncomfortable. He's your father, Monkey Dragon. Cap looked at Lun and took the initiative to introduce. Father. After thinking about it again and again, Lun should have greeted Long with both affection and reason. In the blink of an eye, 4 years have passed. You've grown so big. I am ashamed of you. Long was very emotional. How dare you say it? As soon as I was born, I left it to the old man to take care of it. Mention this, and Garp was instantly furious. But on second thought, Garp was relieved and happy. If it wasn't for the son Long who entrusted Lun to take care of him, he would not be able to find such an excellent successor. A peerless genius who awakened the Overlord at the age of 3. Simply the perfect successor. Future. Must be an excellent navy. Such an excellent successor makes Garp more and more satisfied. Fine. Lun, a talented monster, was not brought to the revolutionary army by the dragon. Otherwise, the consequences could be disastrous. This made Garp feel very happy. Call. He exhaled heavily. Garp suppressed all the thoughts in his head, looked at his son Long with vigilance and ill will, and asked aloud, when you come back this time, if you have anything, just say it directly, don't be around the corner. This is my little son, your little grandson. The dragon slowly placed the baby in his arms on the stone table. Humph! Garp snorted without saying much. Take a closer look. Seeing the infant babbling and dancing, Garp fell in love at first sight. What's his name? Garp asked. Monkey D. Luffy. Long told the truth. Luffy. Garp raised his right hand and gently rubbed Luffy's chubby face, his eyes full of love. Turned. He looked at Lun who was standing beside him and said bluntly, let's see your brother. It is good. Lun nodded. With great anticipation, he walked over to the swaddling baby. Put it down high and looked down. Looking at the swaddling baby's chubby face and the other party's wobbly hands and feet, Lun couldn't help showing a sigh of relief. Luffy. We finally meet. Raising his hands, he gently picked up the infant. Lun's eyes narrowed slightly. Yeah. He seemed to feel his body rising into the air, and Xiao Luffy was dancing in the swaddling clothes, looking very happy, with a pair of eyes, blinking at Lun who was close at hand. Preliminary conservative estimates. Luffy is only 2 months old now. Very light. Just the size of a palm. Very skinny. Future Wong Luffy. It's my stupid brother. Lun rubbed Xiao Luffy's chubby face, feeling the delicate and soft touch from his fingertips, and his heart was filled with emotion. Chapter 27. In order to compete for Lun, the two father and son almost fought. One more. Lun held the infant Luffy and stood quietly by the corner of the wall. At this time, Long sat down on the seat, his eyes flickered, looking at Garp who was not far away, and finally began to step into the theme. Old man, discuss something with you. Heard. Garp raised his brows and was slightly surprised. What's the matter? You still have something to ask the old man? This is really unexpected. If he remembered correctly, this is the first time that Long has made a request to himself. I want to borrow Lun for a while. Don't worry, I will train him well and make him a top powerhouse in the sea. I will also keep him safe during this time. What do you think? The dragon opened his mouth with a smile on his face. Borrow for a while? This is of course just an excuse. If Lun was really brought to the Revolutionary Army, of course it is borrowed without repayment. Kindness. Garp's pupils shrank slightly, and his face changed dramatically. Then, he was suddenly furious, looking at the dragon with an angry face, and shouting angrily, "What do you mean? You bastard, how dare you hit this kid Lun? Don't think about it. The old man might as well tell you directly here. This kid Lun will definitely become an excellent navy. Become the pillar of the navy. He will inherit the identity of the old man and become a hero in the new era of the navy. No matter what reason you find, you can never take Lun away." If it were changed to other requirements, Garp might also be concerned about the identity of the dragon as his son. But the problem is, the request made by the dragon now seriously touched Garp's inverse scale and taboo. Lun, it's Garp's taboo. No matter who. Don't even think about taking Lun. Old man, a peerless genius who awakened the domineering arrogance at the age of 3, you should know what this means. How can a monster like this be wasted in the navy? Only letting him join our revolutionary army is the best destination. He should have bigger ambitions. This world should be the biggest stage for his peerless genius to use his fists. The dragon continued talking, completely ignoring the angry Garp. You sure know this? Looks like your revolutionary army is really pervasive. Even the interior of the navy is full of secret chests that your revolutionary army has planted. Garp snorted coldly, looking coldly at the dragon with bad eyes. It is not difficult to guess. The reason why Long knew that Lun woke up to the domineering overlord at the age of 3 must be because someone from the Revolutionary Army had been placed in the Navy headquarters. Otherwise, it is impossible for the dragon to know that this secret incident just happened some time ago. Furthermore, Garp didn't publicize it, he just told his old friend Sengoku. The Warring States period also informed his immediate superior, the current naval marshal Gang Gukong. So here comes the question. Even Long, the leader of the Revolutionary Army, knew the news. Does this mean the naval headquarters, already corroded and riddled with holes? Are there secret chests of the Revolutionary Army everywhere? Garp thinks. It's very possible. However, the old man advises you. Don't put your conspiracies and ambitions on the kid Lun. What do you want to do? The old man can't control it, and I don't want to do it. Although the old man does not approve of your thoughts, he will never stop you or even be proud of you. However, the premise is that you do not anger the old man. Don't touch the taboos in the old man's heart. This kid Lun is not something that your revolutionary army can try to meddle and plot. Otherwise, don't blame the old man for not warning you. Garp was expressionless and his voice was cold. All along, he has never had huge expectations for Lun. So, he will never allow anyone to try to lead Lun. For a while, the huge room was filled with a chilling air. Very depressing. As if a storm was about to hit. It seems like a battle is about to break out. Seeing the dragon's silent appearance, Garp sneered and continued, 4 years ago, you came to the old man with your baby in the swaddle, and asked the old man to help you take care of your son. At that time, how could you think of today? You probably didn't expect. Your son Lun, my grandson, is a peerless genius that is rare in a century. A monster who has awakened a tyrannical monster at the age of 3. And also, may I tell you, Lun's talent and aptitude are far beyond your imagination. Can you believe it? This kid Lun only spent a month, completely relying on his own exploration, and did not resort to any external means throughout the whole process. Only by myself, I have completely mastered the tyrannical arrogance. The words fall. Long was deeply moved, and he couldn't help taking a deep breath. He thought. His son's talent is already strong enough. Unexpectedly, hearing Garp's words, he suddenly woke up. Emotion. His son Lun is far more terrifying than he imagined. Relying on myself, I mastered the Overlord's color in just 1 month. This amazing talent is really unimaginable. Long Wang couldn't help but be amazed. This moment, he longed for Lun even more. I can't wait to immediately pull Lun into the camp of the Revolutionary Army. If it wasn't for Garp, who was staring at him beside him, maybe Long would immediately use his devil fruit ability to take Lun directly away. Can only say, Lun's talent is too amazing. As the leader of the Revolutionary Army, Long had to show an unprecedented heartbeat. Now, the Revolutionary Army just in its infancy. It just so happens that there is a lack of such a peerless genius like Lun. If Lun can be obtained, the future of the Revolutionary Army is simply bright. The old man knows that you has bad intentions. However, the old man advises you to give up as soon as possible. Lun won't go with you. He will follow the old man back to the naval headquarters. Garp snorted again, his words sharp and merciless. He knew it. His own son, Long, is not a fuel-efficient lamp. But never thought. The other party was so daring that he dared to plot against this kid Lun. Garp would never allow this to happen. What's the benefit of being a revolutionary army with you? A group of rats crossing the street who only dare to hide quietly in the dark on weekdays, almost everyone shouts and beats them. By contrast, following the old man to the Navy headquarters will be completely different. Garp continued. Heard. Long was speechless for a while. Really? The Revolutionary Army, which is now in its infancy, is indeed like a rat in a stinky ditch. But if he wants to let him give up such a peerless genius as Lun, Long will still be deeply saddened and unwilling. This is a 3-year-old awakening overlord. Relying on his own exploration, he mastered the overlord monster in just 1 month. Just give up? To know. This kind of peerless genius is a once in a century. Looking at the sea, there is no second example. Dragon is very unwilling. However, due to Garp's oppression, he could only choose silence. After all, he is no match for Garp. No matter how strong he is. Even his strength can already be said to be at the top of the sea. But there is still a certain gap between the naval hero Garp in front of him. There is no doubt about this. The atmosphere of the huge house is particularly depressing. Garp didn't speak again. The dragon remained silent. Silent atmosphere. Suddenly, Lun took the initiative to stand up and break it. Holding the newborn baby in the swaddle, he looked at the two fathers and sons who were about to fight, his eyes flickered, and he slowly expressed his thoughts. I want to be in the Navy. Chapter 28 Dragon's Departure. Set sail for the Navy headquarters in 3 days. Second update. 3K Chapter. Navy? Revolutionary Army? Pirates? How to choose? Lun naturally chose the former and the first one. The Revolutionary Army was the first chosen target to be excluded. Only because the present Revolutionary Army is too weak. The Revolutionary Army, which is just in its infancy, is a mouse hiding in a stinky ditch. Can't see the light, everyone shouts and fights. Now that you choose to join the Revolutionary Army, isn't that a brain dead? As for being a pirate, Lun also subconsciously ruled it out. Is it bad to be in the Navy? 9 to 5. Get a fixed salary. Enjoy the benefits of the Navy. It can also be backed by the Navy, the most powerful behemoth on the sea. Relying on the big tree to enjoy the shade. Also, if you choose to become the winning Navy, you can also get various training methods tailored by the Navy, so that Lun's strength can be improved by leaps and bounds. This, why not? Plus, Grandpa Garp is a naval hero. Once Lun joins the Navy, he will be a well-known official for 3 generations. Who dares to provoke the Navy? Although Lun joined the Revolutionary Army, he may become a second generation, but the identity of this second generation is not visible after all, and he will be madly rewarded and killed by the Navy. Instead, having become an officer of the Navy for 3 generations, Lun can basically walk sideways on this sea. Except for Garp's former enemy, who wants to kill Lun quickly. Basically, no one dared to take the initiative to provoke Lun, the 3rd generation of the Navy. Even if it is the 4 emperors, you have to measure your ability in advance. Based on the above analysis, Lun decided to become a Navy without hesitation. Without hesitation, the options of the Revolutionary Army and pirates were excluded. With Lun's voice falling slowly, the dragon was even more silent. Garp showed a satisfied and relieved smile. Okay. Okay. Boy Lun, you really didn't let the old man down. Becoming an excellent Navy must be your best choice. Aside. Long hesitated. Just thought of. As the son of a rare genius, Lun, who had missed out on the Revolutionary Army he founded, felt helpless and depressed. If Lun is willing to join the Revolutionary Army, Long is confident that in the next 10 years, he will develop the Revolutionary Army and become one of the most terrifying forces on the sea. Pity. Lun made a choice to join the Navy. Sighing silently, the dragon looked at Lun with complicated eyes, and didn't force it too much. Since you already have your own choice, I won't interfere too much. The path you choose, you have to go down well. It's a pity. But, as a father, I can only bless you silently. Even if he wants to retain Lun to join the Revolutionary Army, he will not make too much demands because of his dragon's character. Besides, next to him is his old father, Garp, who is staring at him. Long did not dare to be too presumptuous. The iron fist of the old father Garp's love, even to this day, still impresses the dragon deeply. After so many years, he didn't want to experience the iron fist of his old father's love again in front of his 2 sons. What made him a father? Thank you, father, for understanding. Lun said to Long. Get stronger. This world is very exciting. Only the strong can experience this colorful and wonderful world. The weak are not even qualified to stand on the world stage and overlook the world. Long stood up from the seat and patted Lun's shoulder deeply. Looking around. Looking at the newborn baby Luffy in swaddling, Long looked at Garp and said solemnly, "Old man, Luffy will be taken care of by you." Heard. Garp's forehead bulged with blue veins, and he wanted to scold him, but seeing Xiao Luffy's cute appearance and the kinship of his flesh and blood made him forcibly hold back the irritable emotions in his heart. Roll. Every time I come back, it's not a good thing. Garp snorted coldly, in a bad tone. I'm leaving. Lun, if you have a bad time in the Navy, the door of the Revolutionary Army is always open for you. Long smiled, then turned and left. His purpose has been achieved, and naturally there is no need to stay too much. At first, his original purpose was to send his youngest son Luffy back to Windmill Village and hand it over to his old father Garp to take care of. I didn't expect. Suddenly learned. His eldest son, Lun, is a once-in-a-century genius. Therefore, he suddenly had the idea of winning Lun into the Revolutionary Army. But now that Lun has decided to join the Navy, Long will not force it too much, nor will he insist on interfering with Lun's choice. As a father, the only thing he can do is to respect Lun's choice. The dragon is gone. As the breeze came softly, and like a gentle breeze gone. When you go, don't take a cloud with you. Only the baby Luffy was left, and he was handed over to the old father Garp to take care of. Without his son as a concern and burden, Long, the leader of the Revolutionary Army, will definitely become more radical and fierce in his future behavior. Can be expected. Later, the Revolutionary Army and the Navy will only be dealing more and more. The character of the dragon is very free and easy. Say no to two. Have their own ideas and beliefs. The Revolutionary Army formed by such people will surely become the most troublesome enemy of the world government in the future. There is no doubt about this. Watching the back of the dragon leaving, Garp hummed, came to Lun's side, touched the infant Luffy on his arm, and looked at Luffy happily as he was dancing and babbling. 3 days later, prepare to leave for Marine Vondo, the headquarters of the Navy. In these 3 days, if there is anything else you want to do, feel free to do it. After the matter here is resolved, you may not be able to return to the East China Sea in the next year and a half. Garp reminded Lun beside him. Clear. Lun nodded. While he was a little reluctant, he also had strong expectations. Looking forward to the Navy headquarters. The countless top powerhouses in the Navy are all gathered in the Navy headquarters. Finally can meet these monsters on the sea. This era. Yellow Ape is still a lieutenant general. Akainu and Aokiji are also lieutenant generals. Sengoku has not yet become a naval marshal. The marshal is Cyborg Kong. Zifa served as a general and set up a naval training camp to teach a new generation of students for the Navy. This era is for Lun. Very exciting. Windmill Village. Port. A merchant ship quietly docked here. On the deck, Ivankov went all the way and saw the leader dragon in a dark brown coat. In a while, the dragon returns to the merchant ship. Immediately, Ivankov couldn't help but ask, Long, where is your genius son? Don't you plan to bring him to our Revolutionary Army? That is a peerless genius that is rare in 100 years. Awakened overlord at the age of 3. Monster. Heard. Long shook his head, looked at the windmill village, his eyes were lost, and he said with emotion, he has his own choice and his own path. We don't need to force it. We can't force it. What does my son want to do in the future? It's up to him to decide. I won't interfere too much. As a father, I just need to bless him silently. And the Revolutionary Army. In the end, it's up to us to lead. The words fall. Ivankov sighed in disappointment. Pity. That is a good seedling to become the top powerhouse in the sea. A natural powerhouse. A once-in-a-century peerless genius. It is a terrifying monster comparable to the future naval headquarters. Unfortunately, such genius cannot join the Revolutionary Army. If not, the future of the Revolutionary Army is simply bright. Let's go. Next target. Alabasta. The dragon ordered directly. Yes, Chief. Beside him, several Revolutionary Army cadres also wearing dark brown coats nodded in response. Instantly, the merchant ships drifted away and gradually left the port of Windmill Village. Finally, the entire merchant ship turned into a tiny black spot and disappeared at the end of the boundless sea in the distance. Chapter 29 The Plan Before Leaving. Get ready to kill the bandits. 3 more. The next day. The sun is shining, the wind is sunny. East China Sea. 80 miles north of Windmill Village. Lun and Ace came to a towering mountain, and their footsteps gradually stopped. Look up and look forward. It was a huge mountain range that stretched for hundreds of kilometers. There are green trees, and the mountains are full of lush trees. Occasionally, there are bursts of wild beasts roaring and roaring, sparrows sing, and they are full of vitality. What exactly do you want to do? All the way. Come here on purpose, where birds don't lay eggs. Is this what you call a special training method? Ace rubbed his slightly sore thighs, looked at Lun with a strange look, and asked. Early in the morning, he was taken by Lun and ran for 80 miles from Windmill Village to the north. Rao is Ace's strong physique, and he can't hold it anymore. After all, he was just a 3-year-old child. Even if he has a strong physique far beyond his peers, he can't stand Lun's torment. On the other hand, Lun's face was neither red nor panting, his complexion was ruddy as always, his breathing was rhythmic, and there was no disturbance at all. This 80-mile road seemed to be walking in his own back garden. It didn't bring any negative effects to Lun's body at all. Seeing this, Ace couldn't help but secretly complained. This guy'll win. Indeed a monster. It's a physical monster. Everyone is also at the age of 3 or 4, but only Lun, who has run for a full 80 miles, still looks like he doesn't have any physical exertion. This made Ace feel a deep sense of powerlessness again. Is the gap between me and this guy really that big? Ace thought with some doubts about life. He was almost exhausted himself. And when he saw Lun's normal appearance, Ace's heart was hit. These days. Because Lun. Ace didn't know how many times he was hit. Even his inner pride has been beaten to pieces by Lun. Humph. Sooner or later, I will catch up with you. Just wait. Ace gritted his teeth, reluctant to admit defeat. Seeing that Ace was very tired, Lun smiled, his eyes were deep, and he said with a serious face, in 2 days, I will leave Windmill Village. Immediately, Ace's face stiffened, and his expression became a little far-fetched. Although I have been with Lun for a short time, it's only just over a month. However, even Ace may not know it, he has already subconsciously regarded Lun, whose strength is far superior to himself, as his leading brother. After more than a month of getting along, Ace has become accustomed to following Lun for devil-like training. Now, when he heard that Lun was leaving Windmill Village, it caught Ace a little off guard, and his mood became a little dull. It's hard to find a peer. And still stronger than his peers. But did not expect. The other party is about to leave the Windmill Village. Ace felt a little lonely. Where are you going after leaving Windmill Village? Ace took a deep breath, suppressed the complicated feelings in his heart, and asked. Marin Vondo of the Navy Headquarters. Lun said bluntly. Navy Headquarters. Are you going to be in the Navy? Ace suddenly raised his head, looked at Lun with a heart-pounding expression, and couldn't help but say, don't you want to be a pirate? Become a pirate king. In no mood. Lun smiled. One Piece? Love who is who? Anyway. He doesn't care. In that case. Then the throne of One Piece is mine. Without you and me to the throne of One Piece, I'd be almost certain. If it was you who competed with me, I might not have much confidence in becoming the Pirate King. However, it is fortunate that you are going to be a navy. Ace breathed a sigh of relief. From Lun's body, he could almost always feel a terrifying and oppressive feeling so majestic that it was about to suffocate him. If Lun also wants to go out to sea and become a pirate, and his goal is to become the Pirate King, Ace may be completely desperate. Because, from beginning to end, Ace could not find any hope of surpassing Lun. Lun is a majestic mountain, and it is so heavy that it is suppressed by Ace, making it difficult for him to find a way to cross this majestic mountain. Now, hearing that Lun was going to become a navy, Ace could finally rest assured. Are you quite the Pirate King? Then you have to work harder. At that time, as a navy, my mission is to catch you pirates. You can count on me not to be touched by me. Otherwise, the navy prison will be waiting for you at any time. Lun smiled and patted Ace on the shoulder. You bastard, it's like you've got me. I will definitely become stronger. Being stronger and stronger than you. Ace shouted angrily. Really? I'll wait. Lun smiled, disapprovingly. Want to surpass yourself? It's not that simple. Ace is getting stronger. But yourself, will you always stay where you are? Non-existent. Has a ghost back system. Coupled with 100-fold increase in the cultivation effect. The speed at which Lun's strength has become stronger is enough to make everyone in the entire sea unmatched. In 2 days, are you going to follow the old man to the naval headquarters? Ace asked again. Right. Lun nodded, changed the subject, and casually mentioned, I also have a stupid brother, his name is Luffy, so I will entrust you to take care of him for the time being. Luffy? I know, I will take good care of him, don't worry. Ace immediately responded without hesitation. Looked up. He looked at the majestic mountains in front of him, and couldn't help but ask curiously, so, today you took me all the way from the windmill village, and came here after a full 80 miles, just to tell me about this? Of course not. Just before leaving Windmill Village, there are some things that make me uneasy. Therefore, I plan to completely solve these unstable factors that make me uneasy before leaving. Lun did not hide his purpose. What do you want to do? Ace asked. I heard that there is a mountain range called Doksan 80 miles north of Windmill Village. There is a group of bandits living in it, the number of which is as high as 300 people, as the largest bandit nearby. Group. I'm about to leave Windmill Village, and I really don't worry about letting this group of bandits continue to do evil. In case one day, he comes to Windmill Village, that group of simple villagers can't stand the tossing of these bandits. I don't expect you to be able to deal with this vicious band of bandits either. I don't want to see the Windmill Village with simple folk customs, that group of amiable villagers suffer from these vicious bandits. And that's what I came here for today. Lun's eyes narrowed slightly. Heard. Ace felt something in his heart and blurted out subconsciously, you mean, before you leave Windmill Village, you want to exterminate this group of bandits? Good. Lun showed an intriguing smile. This is the main goal of his trip to this mountain range after running a full 80 miles. Taking advantage of this group of bandits, before they endangered the Windmill Village. Get started first. The bandit group that completely wiped out the entire mountain range. Chapter 30 Ace, I'll show you what a real strong man is. 4 more flowers. Ask for a ticket. In Lun's impression, Windmill Village has always been peaceful, safe, and peaceful. The vicious pirates from the sea could not threaten the simple villagers of Windmill Village. Instead, the number of bandit groups near Windmill Village is almost endless. Compared with the pirates, the bandits here are a higher threat to the windmill village. Lun vaguely remembered. Later, Ace and Luffy will be coerced and harmed by bandits. In order to avoid this from happening as much as possible, Lun decided, before leaving Windmill Village and heading to the Navy headquarters, kill the bandit groups around Windmill Village. In this way, some tragedies can be effectively avoided. Lun has certain feelings for these simple folk villagers in Windmill Village. He doesn't want to see the amiable group of villagers were coerced by the bandits around them. So, only the first strike is stronger. Destroy all the bandits around here. Make Windmill Village an absolutely safe area. As you said, there is a band of bandits with a size of 300 people here. Are you going to deal with this group of bandits alone? Ace's eyes widened, a little worried in his eyes. That's what it means. Lun smiled and nodded. Are you crazy? A band of 300 bandits, you want to deal with it by yourself. What if there is an accident? Ace looked shocked. Accident? It's no surprise that I'm here. Only 300 people. You can rest assured. Later, don't blink, keep your eyes open and watch this battle. And this is the main reason why I brought you here. Lun took a deep look at Ace with a meaningful expression. You. Ace opened his mouth, unable to speak for a while. At this time, before waiting for Ace to respond, variation is rife. Ta-da-da. A rush of chaotic footsteps came from the dim mountains ahead. Preliminary conservative estimates. There are no less than 100 people. The footsteps were thunderous and loud. In a while, hundreds of bandit groups walked out of the mountains ahead. For the first time, they saw Lun and Ace, two young figures. What? There are actually two little white dolls here. It's surprising. Brothers, I accidentally found two little dolls, and then I can play with them well. Rough voices resounded everywhere. I saw a group of bandits coming out of nowhere. Ace's little face was white with fright, and his eyes were a bit frightened and nervous, and he subconsciously took a half step back, his hands and feet were cold. They are here. As if asking for help, Ace looked at Lun's back with anxious eyes. This moment, Lun's back appeared in Ace's eyes, looking extremely tall, majestic, and reassuring. When Ace, who was in a panic at first, saw Lun's back, it seemed as if he had grasped the backbone, and his inner fear and anxiety were gradually curbed. Lun, you must be careful. Ace gritted his teeth, and the ninja's fear in his heart quickly reminded him. He knows himself. With his strength, not only can he not help Lun, but he will most likely become Lun's burden. So, he had no intention of participating in this battle. At this time, this group of hundreds of thieves had already fixed their eyes on Lun and Ace, and they surrounded them step by step with malicious eyes. In less than a moment, about 300 bandits completely surrounded Lun and Ace. Airtight. Water leaks. These bandits looked at Lun and Ace as if they were looking at the lambs that were about to be slaughtered, and their eyes were full of emotional fluctuations of tyranny and murder. How are you two little dolls? Didn't your elders tell you that this is not a place you can set foot in? However, since we've all come, why don't you two little dolls take us to your village? Be a guest. We will definitely keep our own feet, and we will never do anything to your village, how about that? Several thieves walked out of the crowd, looking at Lun and Ace with weird smiles, and their words were full of sternness and coldness. Bandit words. Of course I can't believe it. Once they do go to Windmill Village, the consequences could be disastrous. That group of simple and amiable villagers couldn't stand the tossing of more than 300 bandits. Little devil, take us to your village. Otherwise, I will kill you now. A burly and strong man came to Lun and looked down at the latter condescendingly, his eyes were cold, murderous, and fierce. Dashan, don't be so impulsive. But don't freak out these two little dolls. Let's have a good time with these two little dolls. Anyway, there is a lot of time now, so don't worry. A famous thief spoke out to dissuade him. Certainly. They didn't feel pity for Lun. And purely. They want to tease Lun and Ace. That's all. Lun. Ace gritted his teeth and stood behind Lun. Do you know why I brought you here? At this moment, Lun suddenly spoke. His voice hovered in Ace's ears. Ace's original fear and anxiety were swept away in an instant. What? Ace's throat was dry, his eyes were lost for a while, and he asked subconsciously. Next. You have to look good. Ace, I'll show you what a real strong man is. I'll let you know. What kind of attitude is the powerhouse of this sea? I know that sooner or later you will go out to sea. In this case, and today, before I leave Windmill Village, I will let you feel it well in advance. Why, strong man? Finished speaking. Lun raised his right hand. Without hesitation, he tore his shirt off with one hand. Rib. A harsh voice sounded. Incredibly sharp. Then. Can see. Lun showed his upper body full of muscular lines. Kongwu is powerful. Full of explosive power aesthetics. Gives a full visual impact. Like a beast leopard, his body is covered with bulging muscles, and muscle lines make Lun exude a surging sense of oppression. Full of energy. Coercion all over the place. In the sun. The golden halo was imprinted on Lun's whole body, making the muscles in his upper body more eye-catching and dazzling, attracting Ace's attention from behind. Ace's eyes were stunned for a while, and he stared blankly at Lun's back. He saw Lun's ghost back. Muscles bulge all over. The whole body is covered with muscles. Gives an unprecedented spiritual shock. Now, seeing the muscular lines of Lun's upper body, that indestructible body like a diamond, shocked Ace. His eyes stared at the former in a daze, and his eyes were unable to move from it for a long time. He felt from Lun. Full sense of security. Very reliable. Very reassuring. What is a strong? Ace muttered to himself, muttering words in his mouth. He was constantly recalling what Lun said just now. These words were already deeply imprinted in Ace's mind. And rooted in his heart thoroughly. Not surprisingly. In this life, Ace must not be able to forget the words left by Lun today. Chapter 31 One Punch Explosion. Let's have a fun fight. One more. Are you all ready? The shirtless Lun, with his muscles unmistakable, was expressionless and looked at the group of more than 300 bandits in front of him. A surging aura coercion slowly emanated from Lun's body. Even young. But it still brought a strong sense of oppression to all the bandits present. You brat! The burly thief standing in front of Lun looked a little suspicious. His eyes looked strangely at Lun's muscles, and he felt a little uneasy for a while. Around. Hundreds of thieves looked at Lun with a look of surprise. In particular, when he saw that Lun's upper body was covered with muscular lines, the bandits present were deeply surprised. It seems that this kid is not simple. Not an idle person. But, after all, it's just a kid with no hair at all. Not enough to be afraid of. Brothers, shouldn't you be frightened by this kid? No, no. After a short period of shock, a group of bandits burst into laughter. Little devil, what did you just ask us to prepare? The burly thief looked down at Lun from a height, and quickly suppressed all the doubts in his heart, returning to his original contemptuous expression again. Naturally, to prepare you. Come to lead the death. Next, you all listen to me. One present counts as one. You, none of you can escape. I want to blow you up one by one. Lun grinned. A violent aura emanated from him. Sweeping all over the place. Cover the whole place. Now. Lun, who is shirtless and full of muscles, seems to be a muscular tyrant. Gives a very strong sense of oppression. Break us alive. Little devil, how dare you say that? Then I will tear you apart first. Go to hell. The burly man in front of Lun showed a hideous smile. He stretched out his right arm. This huge palm was covered with calluses, and it grabbed Lun's head fiercely, trying to crush Lun's head and shred it on the spot. However, before this slap fell, swish! A soft sound. Lun disappeared from the spot. Without a trace. No sound. In place, only a vague afterimage remained. A slap in the face. The burly man was a little surprised, and the whole process was unexpected. He obviously didn't expect that. Things can suddenly change so dramatically. Before waiting for the burly man to respond, a dull voice came from behind his ear. Are you looking for me? The voice is flat, but it seems to contain the momentum like a volcano that is about to erupt. Like a repressed volcano. An extremely violent emotion was accumulated in this voice. Like a humming beast. With the tyranny and desire to tear apart everything in the world. You. The burly man was terrified and shuddered. He was about to turn around. But can only see a fist, infinitely enlarged from his eyes. The fist has not come. The fist blows. A hurricane hit his face, rolling and blowing the man's hair. This fierce airflow, like a sharp blade, scratched his cheeks with pain. Unable to respond all the way. Instantly. Puff. The man's head is like a watermelon. It exploded on the spot. Like a piece of tofu. In an instant, it turned into a blood mist that danced in the air. Blood stained the sky. It seems that half of the sky dome is to be rendered into a crimson sunset. Blood spilled from the sky. Splashed to the ground. The pungent and rich smell followed spontaneously and drifted into the distance. Ground. Infected by bright red bloodstains, it looks like a bright red makeup has been applied to this floor, which is extraordinarily dazzling. Thump. A dull voice sounded. I see. The icy corpse of the burly man fell heavily to the ground, and a faint dust flew up wantonly. Take a closer look. His whole body has been withered. No more breath of life. The whole place was silent. Silent. The originally noisy and lively atmosphere turned into a dead silence. More than 300 bandits were looking at Lun and Ace with a playful expression, with a wild and presumptuous smile on their faces. But right now, the smiles on their faces all stopped abruptly and became extremely stiff. The breeze blows. The pungent smell filled their sense of smell. Let their faces show a thick color of astonishment and horror. What's going on? That guy in Dashin was actually beaten up by a punch. One face to face, instantly killed. How could that kid be so strong? All the bandits present were deeply moved and gaff. Their eyes were full of horror at the cold corpse lying on the ground at the moment. For a while, a gust of cold air rose from the soles of their feet to the sky, making them only feel horrified. At the moment, the development of things went beyond their original expectations. I said it before. If you have one present, don't even try to run away. I'm going to blow you all up alive. This is just the first. Glancing at the cold corpse lying on the ground, Lun turned his eyes and showed a playful smile, looking at the hundreds of horrifying bandits around him. This moment, the smile on Lun's face appeared in the eyes of this group of bandits, like a devil's smile, which made them feel heart palpitations, trembling all over and hair on their backs. Good, very strong. Standing behind Lun, Ace stared blankly at the scene where Lun punched a bandit, and was once again shocked by Lun's powerful strength. A face-to-face, a bandit was instantly killed and exploded. This scene was deeply imprinted in Ace's mind. Lun's strength also gave Ace a more intuitive understanding. Next, it's your turn. You guys, let's go together. Otherwise, this battle will be very boring. Come on. Let's have a good fight. Either you die, or I die. Lun was like a violent beast, showing sharp fangs, and his right fist was completely infected with blood. The fighting intent in his eyes burned like a flame. Tick-tock. Tick-tock. Bright red bloodstains fell from Lun's right hand along the trajectory. This is blood from the enemy. It's not the bloodstain flowing in Lun's body. It looks as if his body, eager to fight. A great desire to drink the blood of the enemy. Born to fight. For a while, Lun's current expression of eagerness to fight and kill has shocked more than 300 bandits around him. Let this group of thieves all look frightened, dare not act rashly in a short time, and act hesitantly. Chapter 32 Push the audience horizontally. Strong as a monster. Second update. 3K chapter. Superior. Don't be intimidated by this brat. He's just bluffing. A mere kid dares to challenge our 300 troops alone. Kill him. After a short period of hesitation, the bandits, who had a tyrannical personality, were naturally not so easily frightened. Instead, they also aroused the blood and murderous aura in their bodies. Moment. Dozens of thieves attacked at the same time, targeting Lun. They each took out sharp swords, maces, hammers, swords, and more. Various weapons appeared one after another, reflecting a dazzling and sharp halo in the sunlight. About 30 bandits surrounded Lun, and the weapons in their hands were swung down. Call out! Call out! Die! A thin middle-aged man showed a grim smile, and the sword in his hand slashed Lun's head without mercy. But at the critical moment, Lun's figure turned slightly to one side. It was easy to dodge the sword. Then, Lun raised his right hand and grabbed the middle-aged man's arm. A little force. Click. A crisp and pleasant sound followed. Lun's arm was crushed on the spot. Broken bones. Burst open. What? The tingling sensation spread from the arm to the whole body, causing the middle-aged man to scream in pain, and let out a roar that made his scalp numb. Then, the sharp saber slipped from the man's hand. Then, Lun lifted the middle-aged man's body abruptly with both hands, and lifted it to the top of his head effortlessly, as if lifting a weight. The man was suspended above his head and struggled constantly. Let go! Damn brat! Under the trend of fear in his heart, the middle-aged man shouted with fear on his face. However, he couldn't control his body and was firmly grasped by Lun. For the powerful physique that Lun has now, carrying an adult strong man is simply a simple matter. After carrying this middle-aged man, without hesitation, Lun threw him in the direction of the dozens of bandits who came. The violent force surging like a trend continuously erupted from Lun's body, rushing all the way to his arms, and the mighty power of both hands grabbed the middle-aged man and threw it out. This middle-aged thief was thrown away by the terrifying force, and rolled upside down for dozens of laps all the way in the air. Boom! Accompanied by a loud bang. More than a dozen bandits were instantly knocked into the air, and the terrifying shock wave that hit the middle-aged man's body abruptly caused the dozen bandits to vomit blood. Their bodies were like uprooted trees, flying backwards dozens of meters away. Puff! Puff! Blood all the way. Blood stained the sky. Boom! More than a dozen bandits slammed on the ground, rubbing the sand and dust on the ground all the way, rubbing the clothes on their bodies to rubbish, and there were countless skin injuries on their bodies. The blood is flowing, infecting the ground here. Just a face-to-face. More than a dozen bandits were killed at the same time. Good come. After more than a dozen thieves, Lun turned his eyes and looked to the other side with excitement. Next second. He is like a beast. The head of the stride meteor plunged into the group of bandits ahead. In his right hand, he firmly grasped a burly thief, using the opponent as a weapon in his hand, grabbing the thief as an iron rod and sweeping towards the surrounding gang of thieves. Boom! 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 A large band of bandits were knocked away dozens of meters away, and they fell to the ground in a messed up shape, rolling and rubbing freely. Ah! My hand! Come and save me! I have broken my leg! Do not! All kinds of screams full of pain resounded in this area. In the blink of an eye, more than 300 thieves suffered heavy losses, and they were close to the fate of ordinary personnel who were tragically killed by LUN. There are also some people who are lying on the ground with serious injuries and dying. The ground here has already been infected with blood and turned a crimson red. It was as if the earth was covered with a layer of light bright red makeup. Spooky. Dazzling. Attention. Creepy. Happy. Happy. Ha ha ha. LUN laughed out loud. Facing the fearful eyes of the bandits, he plunged into another bandit group again. Clenched fists. The fist with terrifying power slammed into the bandits in all directions. Show no mercy. Very decisive. Then. Puff. Puff. The bodies of the bandits were pierced by LUN's fist. Some were punched through the abdomen, some were punched through the chest, and some were smashed to pieces on the spot. In short, none of the bandits who were hit by LUN were spared, all of them were killed instantly, their lives withered, and they were reduced to icy corpses lying motionless on the ground. The blood splashed wildly. Blood splattered. Infecting LUN's body, his body covered with muscular lines is more ferocious and terrifying, giving people a full sense of oppression. A ghostly back experienced the pouring of blood. The remote sensing brought to people is more and more terrifying and powerful. The pungent blood stained LUN's upper body, and his body full of muscular lines was already full of blood from these bandits. Tick-tock! Tick-tock! Drops of blood kept falling from LUN's body. Naturally, all the blood came from these bandits, not LUN himself. From the beginning to the end, LUN was unscathed. No thief could bring him the slightest threat and damage. LUN was like a ferocious beast, rushing through the crowd wantonly. Wherever you go. Corpses everywhere. One after another, icy corpses fell one after another. LUN, who was naked, had a ghostly back, which made the muscle lines on his body more and more obvious. Contaminated with blood, he looks like a muscular tyrant. Dealing with these bandits, he kept the slightest sympathy throughout. There is no mercy. Violence. Bloody. Cruel. Another punch. Boom. A sonic boom with one punch. Sharp. Harsh. The spatial airflow in this area was smashed and torn apart by this punch on the spot. For a moment, this punch blew the head of a bandit. Like a watermelon exploding. The sky is full of blood fog, dancing gracefully. Gradually, LUN's footsteps stopped abruptly. The atmosphere was dead silent. Look around. Can be clearly seen. Countless icy corpses lay on the ground. There are still many bandits lying on the ground crying and screaming in pain. It seems that they are dying, and they are only half a step away from death. Rivers of blood. Corpses are everywhere. LUN alone pushed all the bandits in the audience. Kill the armor not to stay. The thieves killed are powerless to fight back. The whole process was unilaterally crushed by LUN. This was a horrific slaughter. The breeze blows. The air here is filled with an extremely strong pungent smell. There were more than 300 bandits, and nearly 200 people died. Hundreds of people were seriously injured. Remaining. The dozens of thieves who remained shivered, their faces stiffened with fear, their bodies were unable to move at all, and their bodies were shaking violently. Looking at the cruel scenes around. The courage of these dozens of thieves has been frightened. Their lips were trembling, and their faces were pale as they looked forward to the young figure in the center of the corpse, and the fear in their hearts gradually dominated the whole body. That young figure brought them endless oppression and fear. Like a monster. Terribly strong. Powerful, outrageous. Killing blood flowed into rivers. At the beginning, there were more than 300 people, but within a moment, they were almost killed. How can it be so strong? He's obviously only 4 years old. More than 300 of us were killed by a 4-year-old kid. They spoke in trembling voices. If you hadn't seen it with your own eyes. They may not even dream of it. Someday. They have more than 300 people, and they will be killed by a 3 or 4-year-old kid. They have no power to fight back. The entire bandit group. He was almost wiped out by a few-year-old kid. Killed by force. The surviving bandit looked at Lun with horror in his eyes. You little bastard. What kind of monster is that? They've never heard of it in their life. This world. There are such terrifying monsters. A 4-year-old monster. Chapter 33 Overlord's color reappears. 1 man group to destroy the bandits. 3 more. So strong. Too strong. This guy Lun pushes the audience like a monster. It's like entering the realm of no self. Every punch knocked out a bandit and took away a fresh human life. Seeing the violent scene in front of him brought Ace a very strong visual impact, causing his eyes to be lost for a while. Lun's strength was deeply engraved in his bones and deeply felt by Ace. At this time, a bandit silently touched behind Ace, held a sharp dagger, and put the dagger on Ace's neck, close at hand. Don't move. Little devil, stop your behavior immediately. The thief stared at Lun with a terrified face, and clearly saw Lun with his upper body bare, revealing his muscular body, exuding an incomparable sense of oppression. Obviously. He has been scared to death by Lun. He didn't even have the courage to face Lun directly. And having lost his courage, under the belief that he desperately wanted to live in his heart, his only option was to choose to hold Ace hostage. Only in this way, in his opinion, he will still have a chance of life. Anyway. He didn't think that he could have the strength to compete with Lun head-on. Nearly 300 people died, the dead, the crippled. All this just happened in half a quarter of an hour, making him feel like a nightmare. Little devil, I don't care how strong you are. You must let us go. If not, I'll kill this kid immediately. The pirate looked at Lun with fear on his face, and clenched the dagger in his hand, trying to negotiate with Lun to find a way to survive. However, it can be clearly seen from the trembling right hand of the man holding the dagger. This person has been completely dominated by fear. And this fear is naturally given by Lun. I advise you, don't let yourself regret it. I just want to live. I don't want to die. If you let me go, I will never hurt this little brat. How? The bandit who held Ace with a dagger in hand, negotiated with a voice full of fear. More than 300 people are almost wiped out. He could only use Ace's life to coerce Lun. Otherwise, he felt like he was going to die. Ace felt it for the first time in his life. The taste of death. His hair stood on end. Feeling the cold touch from the neck, the sharp dagger, like a piece of ice for 10,000 years, constantly exudes a cold breath. Ace's throat was dry, his lips trembled slightly, and his little face was pale. After all, he was just a 3-year-old child. It is natural to feel panic when someone is holding a dagger around the neck. He dared not speak. Involuntarily, he looked at the reassuring figure not far away. Turn out to be. I'm so weak. This was the first time Ace hated his weakness. Just now, when I saw Lun kill the quartet, there was always an illusion in his mind. Feel. If he goes on his own, he can also kill and kill. However, but reality gave Ace a loud slap in the face, making him wake up completely. It also made him feel deeply. He is too weak. Compared with a win. Simply a world of difference. The bandit group that was almost wiped out by Lun alone, even if only one person needs to be dispatched, is enough to put him in a crisis of life and death. By contrast, Lun, this monster, I'm afraid one finger is enough to crush me to death. Ace sighed bitterly. At the same time, Lun, who was in the battlefield, turned around slowly and looked at the bandit holding a dagger to threaten Ace with a blank expression on his face. The blood bathed on him. A ghostly back. The muscle lines all over the body are very obvious. Tick-tock. Tick-tock. Bloodstains kept falling from him. He is like a tyrant who came out of a sea of corpses and blood. The bulging muscles were filled with bloodstains, which gave people a full sense of oppression. Come on. I just want to live. Let me go. Watched by Lun's eyes, the bandit holding the dagger trembled and was terrified. If it wasn't for the belief in his desire to live that supported him, just one look from Lun would be enough to scare him to the ground on the spot. Facing the scene where the bandits coerce Ace, Lun suddenly burst out laughing. Didn't I tell you? All of you present today, one counts as one. One, don't even try to escape. Words fell. I haven't waited for the bandit to respond. Immediately after, Lun's slightly closed eyes suddenly opened, and his eyes looked particularly sharp. Moment. Boom. An unparalleled surging spiritual force erupted from Lun's body rapidly, like a detonated volcano, sweeping the mountains and seas in all directions. To destroy. Destruction. The moment this spiritual power erupted from Lun's body, it immediately transformed into a monstrous overlord. This terrifying aura spread inch by inch. Crazy stretch. Cover the whole place. The earth-shattering monstrous overlord is domineering and domineering, like a surging ocean wave, with the speed of thunder, and in an instant, it has completely covered the area of a radius of 100 meters. The invisible aura showed a circular arc, with Lun's body as the center point, spreading over a radius of hundreds of meters. Being within the confines of this area, all living beings were instantly crushed in spirit and consciousness, fainting on the spot and unconscious. Therefore, can be clearly seen. The thief who held Ace with a dagger, was forcibly crushed by the tyrannical arrogance in an instant. As he lost consciousness, his eyes immediately turned white, foaming at the mouth, and he lost the ability to control his limbs. Passed out on the spot. Then, the dagger clipped to Ace's neck slid from the bandit's palm and fell to the ground. Instantly. Thump. It was followed by a dull sound. The thief fell to the ground, and the dust on the ground floated faintly. Unconscious. Completely fainted. At the same time, the few thieves who survived by chance were all without exception, and their consciousness was crushed by Lun's outburst of overlord. They rolled their eyes, foamed at the mouth, and lay motionless on the ground. Thump. Thump. One after another, the bandits fell to the ground one after another, unconscious. The group of seriously injured bandits who had been screaming in pain and wailing before were also stunned on the spot, losing consciousness and lying on the ground like icy corpses. It's just a blink of an eye. The entire bandit group of more than 300 people was wiped out by Lun alone. There was never a single survivor. Look around. The corpses piled up like mountains. Rivers of blood. The bandits who fainted without panting were lying in every corner. The pungent smell filled the air here and slowly flowed. The atmosphere was dead silent. Silent. Occasionally a little wild beast roars. Jungle chirping. Now. Except for Lwen. At the scene, only Ace remained awake. Under the control of Lun, the earth-shattering tyrannical arrogance deliberately separated Ace, and did not crush Ace's consciousness on the spot. It can be seen from this. Lun's mastery of domineering and domineering has become more and more consummate. This is the legendary overlord arrogant. Seeing that the bandits who were still clamoring wildly just now were all killed in an instant at this moment, Aston was dumbfounded and dazed. The only thing he could think of to be able to kill all the surviving bandits in seconds in a short period of time, only the legendary domineering tyrant is left. Seeing the scene where the overlord seduces all the bandits in the audience at close range, Ace's mood is full of shock. Chapter 34 Ace, try to chase my back. 4 shifts. 3K Chapter Fur Flowers. Ask for a ticket. A total of Strength plus 0.005, Speed plus 0.004, Stamina plus 0.005 in this battle. After a 100-fold increase in the training effect, the host can get Strength plus 0.5, Speed plus 0.4, Stamina plus 0.5. In vain. The system prompt sounded from Lun's head without warning. Before Lun could respond, instantly, a warm current rushed to his heart instantly, appeared out of thin air, washed his body, and transformed his internal organs, meridians, bones, and blood. Quickly strengthen the attributes of his body. A makeover. Let Lun feel the wonderful taste of becoming stronger again. Soon, the system has been successfully remodeled. Lun suddenly opened his eyes, and a dazzling light flashed in his eyes. Clenching his fists, he could feel the power in his body becoming more powerful and surging. Although this is only a slight increase in strength, but it can still make Lun clearly realize that his strength has become a bit stronger. After a long while, he just suppressed all the thoughts in his head. What? Frightened. Raising his head, Lun couldn't help laughing and joking when he saw that Ace's eyes were lost for a while, with that silly look on his face. Immediately, Ace woke up from a dream. He subconsciously raised his hand and wiped his neck. Stop looking. He's been knocked out by me. Lun knocked on Ace's forehead. Call. Hearing this, Ace was finally able to exhale heavily. Waving his sleeves, he wiped the sweat from his forehead, his pale complexion gradually turned back, and his complexion gradually became rosy. At that moment just now, he thought he was dead. He is still thinking, what will Lun do to save himself? But did not expect. Lun's way of saving himself was so simple and rude. With only an invisible aura. Then he killed the bandit who was coercing him. Is this the legendary domineering overlord? Ace raised his head and looked at Lun with shock and longing in his eyes. That's right. Hearing that Ace mentioned the overlord, Lun was slightly surprised, so he nodded with a smile. It is said that among millions of people, only one person has the potential of a king. Lun, you really are a monster. Ace took a deep breath. Don't be discouraged, in fact, you also have such potential. The only difference is, I activated this potential earlier than you. Your potential is still hidden in your body and has not been activated. When the time is right, the power in your body will naturally awaken. Lun came to Ace's side and spoke bluntly. As the son of the pirate king Roger, Ace naturally has the potential to be overbearing. There is no doubt about this. Do I also have the potential of a king? Ace clenched his fists and looked excited. He has begun to fantasize. Just like Lun just now. Effortlessly. It instantly killed all the surviving bandits in the audience. That scene, just imagining it, made his blood boil. Don't think about it, now you are still too far from these. How old are you? 3 years old is like awakening the overlord. Wash and sleep. Lun patted Ace on the forehead. But Ace wanted to object. Didn't you also awaken the overlord at the age of 3? But on second thought, Lun this monster. It really can't be viewed with common sense. Suddenly, Ace swallowed all these rebuttal remarks. You want to talk about me? I'm different from you. This see. Only me is the most special. Lun laughed out loud. The two talked for a while, but it completely resolved the panic in Ace's heart. Shaking his upper body, Lun threw off all the blood on his body, but the blood stained on his fists could not be completely washed away. A ghostly back. Muscle lines all over the body bulge. Kongwu is powerful. So oppressive. Plus, the faint smell of blood emanating from Lun's body added a terrifying deterrent to his whole being. Did you freak out just now? The feeling of being held by someone with a dagger around your neck should be uncomfortable, right? Lun looked at Ace. Kindness. Ace lowered his head, his voice was a little dull. At that time, my head was blank and I had no choice but to let my own life be slaughtered by others. That feeling of powerlessness. Let me truly realize that I am so weak. The words fall. Lun's eyes flickered, and he took a deep look at Ace. Let Ace realize that he is weak as soon as possible. This is not a bad thing. At least. In this way, Ace will have a target to chase in the future. In this way, Ace can grow and become stronger. It also started from that moment. I just knew. It turns out that I'm so different from you. Ace was a little unwilling. Next. Lun took Ace to deal with the remaining group of bandits, and also let Ace see blood by the way. Gave Ace a dagger. Test whether the opponent dares to kill the unconscious bandit. Finally. Ace did it. Ace, holding a dagger, solved the bandit who had been coercing him just now, learned about the opponent's life, and the dagger plunged into the opponent's heart. In an instant. With a large splatter of blood. So far. The bandit's life was taken by Ace. Life dies. No life at all. Reduced to a cold corpse. Good job. Walking to Ace's side, Lun couldn't help laughing at the pale face and trembling body of the former. First murder. Ace will inevitably have some negative effects after all. To this. Lun said he could understand. Ace and myself, after all, are different. My first murder. Not only did not feel panic. Instead. Even deep in his heart, there is a violent impulse to tear everyone apart. You rest first, and wait for me to deal with the remaining bandits. Lun asked Ace to rest, while he went alone to deal with the remaining group of bandits. After half an hour. With blood on his hands, Lun shook off the blood on his hands and threw it to the ground next to him. It's finally resolved. After punching the head of the last thief, Lun completely wiped out this group of thieves with a size of more than 300 people. Destroy the entire bandit group alone. Not one left. Not a single fish slipped through the net. Killed cleanly. After cleaning up the blood on his body a little, Lun was shirtless, revealing the upper body with a little blood on his body. His muscles were very obvious, and his back was full of oppression. Then. He returned to Ace again. Let's go. Now that the bandits here have been resolved, Lun naturally has no need to stay here. At last. All the corpses of the thieves were piled up together, and they were burned with a fire. After doing all this, Lun took Ace and the two away without looking back. The two walked farther and farther. Go back in the direction of Windmill Village. Rear. The fire was burning fiercely, and the grey-black mist rose up. Thick fog shrouded. Flare. There was a crackling sound from the flames. That is. The sound of bones being burned. The bodies of more than 300 bandits were all burned to ashes. After about a quarter of an hour, Lun and Ace stopped abruptly. Turn around. The two looked back at the raging flames behind them. Ace, try to become stronger. Try to chase after my back and footsteps. Don't be thrown too far by me. Looking at the dazzling fire in the distance, Lun withdrew his gaze, patted Ace on the shoulder, and warned earnestly. This day, Lun's powerful strength has left a deep impression on young Ace. Is this the real powerhouse? Chapter 35 This big brother, I will protect you all your life. One more update. 3K chapter. Time flickers. Alternating day and night. In the blink of an eye. 2 days have passed. Early morning. A round of scorching sun was rising, hanging on the edge of the sky, and a golden halo scattered down. The warmth slowly flowed, dispelling a little water mist that remained in the air. Early in the morning, the villagers of Windmill Village entered their busy work. Hustle and bustle. Lively. Windmill Village, Harbor. A huge warship was quietly docked at the port. The sea breeze blew lightly, and the waves rippled and spread. Whoa! The sea slammed on the reefs of the port, making a crisp and pleasant sound, like a beautiful musical note. A white flag hung high on the warship, shaped like a seagull, and like a scale, symbolizes the absolute fairness, justice of the Navy. I see. A young navy in navy dress is constantly busy, each carrying various goods from the port to the warehouse of the warship. It can be seen from this. Just like. This is the prelude to the upcoming voyage of the warship. The materials prepared at this moment are the necessary materials for the voyage of the warship. Send this thing to the warehouse. This is the item that Lieutenant General Garp ordered. You have to handle it with care, and don't damage the items inside. Otherwise, Lieutenant General Garp will be furious and throw you to feed the fish on the spot. And this, and that. Be careful. The port is full of lively and noisy, and hundreds of navies are busy with their eyebrows. Pakuto was also in it, acting as a commander, directing all the navies present to deliver goods, so busy that sweat was dripping from his forehead. As the supreme commander of the entire warship, Garp was lying on the deck of the warship with a comfortable face, leaning against the sun lounger, lying flat, holding a glass of juice in his right hand, looking very relaxed and leisurely. Not far apart. Lun also stood on the deck fence of the warship, quietly looking at the busy group of navy. Turned. He looked at Garp, who was very comfortable, with a speechless expression on his face. At this time, Garp suddenly said, "Boy Wen, you have been making a lot of noise these days. I didn't expect that before you leave Windmill Village, your kid will still worry you." Recently, all the bandit groups near Windmill Village were annihilated by Lun alone. Bandits big and small. No less than 7 or 8. In just 3 days, it was completely eliminated by Lun alone. The remaining few bandit gangs shivered and shrank in the steep mountains, and dared not go out easily, for fear of being targeted by Lun. Because the killing was too fierce. Resulting in the past few days in Windmill Village, not even the shadow of a bandit could be seen. Every thief hid in the ravine in fear and trembled. They dare not go out at all. If it weren't for the fact that these bandits started to hide, Lun would probably kill more bandits. Destroyed 7 or 8 bandit gangs. The lives of Lun's hands contaminated by thousands of lives have already been lost. 7 or 8 bandit gangs were all killed by Lun. Not one left. These days, Lun has almost transformed into a terrifying killing god. It made Garp feel the fright. Afraid of. Lun is addicted to killing. That would be troublesome. As a navy, how can you kill like this? This kid Lun. It's completely different from the old man's character. It's not very similar to his Lao Zilong. It's weird, how could this kid kill like this? Cap was puzzled. But all Lun killed were extremely vicious bandits, which made Garp a little relieved. I'm afraid. Lun is addicted to murder and acts on ordinary civilians. And this is not what Garp wants to see. But I have to admit it. This kid Lun's strength has grown too fast. In the blink of an eye, even if you look at the entire East China Sea, with Lun's strength, he definitely belongs to the strong. As expected of the old man's grandson. A once-in-a-century peerless genius. Garp was overwhelmed with emotion and deeply proud. Because 7 or 8 bandit groups were destroyed by Lun alone. For a while. There is a rumor circulating near the windmill village. There is a top powerhouse who is chivalrous and righteous, and hates bandits. Any bandit will eventually find it difficult to escape the fate of being punished. This rumor. It caused countless people who had tried to join the bandit to stop, and never dared to join the bandit group to do evil. At this time, Lun looked at Garp with a contented face. Isn't it exactly what you want to solve the bandit here? Actually, you have wanted to do this kind of thing for a long time, right? Heard. Garp was dumbfounded. You saw through it. Indeed, the old man has long wanted to eradicate the bandits around here. However, these bandits are like flies in the stinky ditch. Exhausted. If you can't solve the problem at the source, these bandits can't be killed. So, when the old man was young and vigorous, he was impulsive once or twice. After that, he never did anything to these bandits again. Lun was thoughtful. Okay, you don't have to think about it so much, go say goodbye to Ace's bastard. I'm afraid you won't be able to meet for a long time to come. I have to say, your kid has a very good way of dealing with people. At first, this Ace was full of hostility towards you. Now that you are leaving suddenly, this kid is full of reluctance to part with you. Garp glanced out of the corner of the eye and saw a small beanie standing at the port. It was Ace who came to see him off. Before the warship is about to set sail. There are many villagers of Windmill Village gathered in the port. They all came here to say goodbye to Garp and Lun. Including Ace. And also, the tavern owner's eldest sister, Makina, is holding Luffy in her arms. Makina is very young now, full of youthful breath, and her face is very delicate and beautiful, exuding a unique temperament that is gentle and pleasant. Luffy, who was in her arms, was dancing and screaming. Ace stood beside Makina with a pair of reluctant eyes, looking at the huge warship ahead, his eyes fixed on Lun on the deck fence of the warship. Under the leadership of the village chief Grandpa, a group of villagers came to see Lun off specially. Little Lun, go to the Navy headquarters to fight for our windmill village. Don't listen to his nonsense. Xiao Wen, remember to take care of himself and stop being bullied. In the blink of an eye, little Wen has also grown up. When he reaches the age of going to sea, it's really hard time. A group of villagers were very emotional. Warship, on deck. Lun looked at the amiable villagers with a smile on his face, and a wisp of warmth slowly flowed in his heart. Farther. He also saw the Dardan gang. Although Dardan and others did not come to the port, they came to see Lun from afar. At this time, Ace, who was standing beside Makina, suddenly turned towards Lun's direction with all his strength, his face flushed red, and he shouted for a long time. Lun, you guy! I'll catch up with you sooner or later. You must wait for me. I thought this was over. Unexpectedly, Ace hesitated. Then, he gritted his teeth and shouted again, brother! Loud voice resounded everywhere. Wandering in the huge port echoed for a long time. A group of villagers cast smiles full of kindness. Ace, you kid! Are you finally willing to call out Big Brother willingly? Lun stood on the edge of the deck fence of the warship and smiled at Ace, whose face was flushed. Looking at Ace, he couldn't help but meditate slightly in his heart. Ace, the big brother you shouted today. From now on, I will protect you forever. You will never die young. Even if you commit a great sin. As your big brother, I will definitely save your life in the future. Keep your life safe. Your brother. I got it. Chapter 36 Set Sail. Go to the Marine Headquarters Marine Fando. Second update. Ace. Remember to help me protect my stupid brother. Lun stood on the deck of the warship with a smile, looking at Ace in the port not far away. Don't worry, he's my brother too. Ace nodded solemnly. Mr. Lun. What a gentle person. Standing beside Ace and holding Luffy's machina in his arms, he showed a gentle smile. Gentle. Ace's mouth twitched. He could not help but recall. In recent days, the scene where Lun madly killed the bandits. Every time, in the purest violent way, the group of vicious bandits were all destroyed. Until now. Ace still can't forget. Lun was shirtless, revealing his upper body full of muscular lines and his hideous and terrifying ghost back, punching like a dragon, and frantically killing the scene of the bandits. Every bandit was beaten up with one punch. Bloody. Fear. Scalp tingling. That scene must be enough to make Ace remember deeply in this life. If you let those bandits know, Sister Machina, you would describe this guy Lun as gentle. I'm afraid, they will climb out of the grave and argue with you. Tenderness. For those bandits, Lun is a brutal monster. A muscular tyrant. Ace groaned inwardly. Soon. Under Paketo's command, hundreds of navies quickly sent all the materials accumulated in the port to the warehouse of the warship. After doing all this, Paketo also stepped onto the warship. Everything is ready. Today, a large amount of materials accumulated in the warehouse of the warship can make it not a problem for the hundreds of navies of the entire warship to consume more than half a month. Old man, we should go. Lun stood on the deck and looked back at Garp lying on the sun lounger. No need to say goodbye to them again. Garp asked with a smile. No need. It's not that there is no chance to return to Windmill Village. Lun shook his head. Now, he has suppressed the sadness and reluctance in his heart. At this moment, his heart is full of expectations for the Navy headquarters. I can't wait to be able to go to the Marine headquarters Marine Fando immediately. The Navy headquarters has 10,000 possibilities to make Lun stronger. It can make Lun's strength soar by leaps and bounds. For now, ordinary devil-style training has been unable to support Lun's strength by leaps and bounds. What he wants is a more reasonable training method. A more scientific training method. And this is also the main reason why Lun chose to join the Navy. System, call up the current properties panel. After several days of fighting with bandits, Lun's physical attributes have also ushered in a considerable improvement. Obviously can be seen. He is now stronger than he was a few days ago. Simply put, Lun's strength is changing almost every moment. Has a ghost back system. Plus 100 times the increase of the cultivation effect. Every minute and every second of Lun's strength will usher in a certain degree of improvement. His strength increases. It is visible to the naked eye. Garp is a veteran witness. Whenever he sees Lun's strength changing, Garp can't help but sigh. You are still getting old. Now in this era, it belongs to the world of young people. And this kid Lun is the leader of this era. One of the most terrifying monsters. Instantly. In front of Lun's eyes, his own attribute panel popped up. Host, Lun. Strength, 22.6, plus 2.9. Speed, 19.9, plus 2.1. Physical strength, 24.2, plus 3.1. Mental power, 13.7, plus 0.5. Ghost back completion, 10.24%. The overall improvement of the current training effect, 100 times. Good. Lun showed a satisfied smile. In just a few days, his strength has improved a lot. Even if the effect of devil-style training on oneself has become minimal. But with 100-fold increase in cultivation effect. However, he can still make his own strength soar in a range beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. Next, under the eyes of Ace and his fellow villagers, set sail. Garp stood up slowly from the sun lounger and raised his arms. With Garp's order, all the navies responded. Immediately after, the entire huge warship, under the control of a group of navies, gradually began to set sail. Set sail! Out to sea! The sea breeze came. Whoa! The calm sea caused waves of rippling waves, and the waves crashed and washed the reefs on the edge of the port. They picked up the sea and danced in the air, reflecting the golden halo scattered around the sky. Gradually, the entire huge warship drove away, completely away from the port of Windmill Village. The distance from the Windmill Village is getting farther and farther. The warship pushed aside the sea water on both sides, rippling waves of waves. Whoa! The crisp and melodious sea water slams against the coast, and there are beautiful notes that are very beautiful. Port. Ace, Makina, and their group of villagers, headed by the village chief grandfather, and all the members of the Dodden family who did not come to the port not far away. They all watched the huge warship gradually leave. We must win glory for our Windmill Village. Little Wen, remember to come back to see us often when you have time. If you suffer and suffer outside, the Windmill Village welcomes you at any time. A group of villagers showed their sincerity and watched the warship leave with emotion on their faces. Lun, wait for me. I will go to sea sooner or later. By the time, I will definitely find you. You and I will fight again. At that time, the one who wins must be me. Ace clenched his fists with determination. Yeah! Xiao Luffy was held in Makina's arms, using his hands and feet together, dancing with his hands and feet, and a melodious laughter like a silver bell came out, as if he was saying goodbye to his grandfather and eldest brother with a smile. Little Ace, let's go back. Watching the warship gradually turn into a small black spot, Makina said to Ace beside him. Kindness. Ace Zhang nodded. He glanced again at the boundless sea. In his eyes, visible, the warship that carried Grandfather Garp and eldest brother Lwen had completely disappeared at the end of the distant sea, and the warship could no longer be captured. Then, Ace, who watched the warship completely leave the waters here, slowly turned around, and with a determined look, followed Makina back to Windmill Village. The amiable group of villagers at the port, under the leadership of the village chief, also dispersed and returned to their respective posts to carry out their busy work. This day, it is the year 1505 of the Haiwan calendar. Just in the middle of July, Lun followed Garp to officially set off for the Marine Headquarters Marine Fando. Chapter 37 The Genius of Hard Work. The Chain Effect of Genius. 3 shifts. 3K Chapter. 4 days later. Blue sky, clear sky. A round of scorching sun hangs on the edge of the sky, scattered with golden halo. The meaning of warmth flows slowly. The little mist that remained in the air was completely evaporated by the warm sunlight. Whoa! The sea breeze blew lightly, and waves of ripples spread on the calm sea. An incomparably huge warship passed through the endless sea, pushed aside the sea water on both sides, picked up the water stains and flew into the air to dance gracefully. As the sea breeze blows, the white seagull flag hanging high is very eye-catching in the sunshine from all directions. That white seagull flag. It represents the overlord of the sea. Wang Yang's boundless sea could not find any reference. Only by recording the pointer can the warship be guided to an island where people live. Once you lose your sense of direction in this sea, it is a very scary thing, and you may even be completely buried in this sea because of your sense of disorientation. Every year, someone will be buried in the sea with this method of death. Certainly. The most dangerous in this sea, the number one is the Sea King. Sea Kings are a unique and powerful species of life. They inhabit the deep sea and occasionally surface to the surface to experience the hot sun. And the powerful species of life such as the Sea Kings, in this endless sea, there are simply countless, and the number of hunted and killed is far less than their reproduction. Therefore, when sailing on this sea with a sailboat, the thing people fear most is to encounter a sea king. This time, under the sea area where the huge warship passed through, you could see many dark figures, very large in size, passing recklessly through the dark and deep cold. They are the sea kings that make countless creatures in the sea terrified. Each sea king has a huge body size of no less than 10 meters. Move your body a little. That's enough to trigger a series of mini tsunami disasters. At this time, huge warship. On the deck, Garp was lying on the sun lounger and sleeping soundly. A large bubble was exhaled from his nose, and he was snoring, like a thunderous snoring sound resounding all over the deck of the warship. The warm sunlight shone down, illuminating Caperna's burly body. Just like he is enjoying the sun bath. No one dared to disturb the sleeping Garp. Even Pakuto, who was Garp's confidant and subordinate, stood far away on the other side of the warship, as if he was afraid that he would wake Garp, who was asleep. Only Lun remained on the empty deck. And at this moment, he is constantly training hard. 2993rd. 2994th. 2995. I saw that Lun's body was already covered with countless weight training equipment. He was shirtless, with no clothes on his upper body, revealing his muscular body. The back muscles are more ferocious and obvious. A ghost back gives a full sense of oppression. At this time, Lun, who is in training state, has a load of no less than 300 kilograms on his body. Yes. With 300 kilograms of weight-bearing equipment hanging, Lun still did nearly 3,000 push-ups in just 1 hour. This kind of training intensity can be called the devil. Let all the navies on the entire warship have to express their admiration from the heart. Even Pakuto was amazed at Lun's hard work. These few days, all the navies on the whole ship have seen Lun's respect for cultivation. Once you enter the state of cultivation, Lun is simply crazy. Do not practice like a life. It's just like, as long as you don't die, practice to the death. With such a terrifying training intensity coefficient, even Pakuto, an elite and strong man in the Navy, felt his scalp numb, and he didn't dare to follow Lun's training mode at all. Now, Pakuto finally understood why Lun's strength can achieve such a rapid increase and rapid progress. Only because the training method of this monster Lun is really cruel. Gradually, hundreds of navies of the entire warship secretly gave Lun a nickname. They refer to Lun as hard-working genius. A genius with a unique talent that is rare in a century, far from being complacent. On the contrary, he has also spent far more sweat and time than everyone else to cultivate. This is the true genius, deserving of everyone's respect. Ordinary geniuses become very lazy when they hold themselves to have a good talent and aptitude. And Lun is completely different. He obviously has a world-shattering talent far beyond everyone in the sea. But he still worked harder than ordinary people, devoting a lot of time to hard training. Amazing talent coupled with hard work. This convinced all navies of the entire warship. Lun, he will definitely become a famous top powerhouse in the future. Even inherited the hero name of Lieutenant General Garp. Become the new hero of the New Age Navy. Over the past few days, they can see almost every day that Lun is in the process of practicing hard day and night. Rose earlier than them. Sleep later than them. Such amazing perseverance. It really opened their eyes. It also makes them feel ashamed. After all, even a peerless genius like Lun, who can be called a once-in-a-hundred-year-old genius, put so much time and sweat into his crazy training. Just ask. They were already mediocre in talent. How can you continue to be lazy? Mr. Lun has an unparalleled talent that I can't wait for. But he still works so hard, it really makes me ashamed. In contrast, we have neither such amazing talent nor such strong perseverance as Mr. Lun. No wonder we are a group of weak people, we really deserve it. If it is said that a genius like Mr. Lun cannot become a strong man, then, looking at this sea, I am afraid that there will be no second person who is qualified to become a strong man. This is the real monster. A well-deserved peerless genius. Obviously possessing a world-shattering and unparalleled talent, and still practicing extremely hard day and night, how can this make people like me who are mediocre in talent and lazy in temperament suffer? Then, the atmosphere of the whole warship was driven by Lun to become positive. In layman's terms it is. They were killed by Lun. Watching. As a peerless genius, Lun worked so hard. All the navies of the entire warship had to grit their teeth and force themselves to devote themselves to their own training. A once-in-a-century genius is working hard to cultivate. Where do they come from to be lazy? Is this the chain effect of genius? Seeing a group of navy clenching their teeth and cultivating hard, the Sergeant Pakuto, who was the second commander of the entire warship, couldn't help but be amazed. Looking around, he looked to the other side of the deck, looking at the young figure who was still cultivating, his eyes were full of deep admiration. This is the rhythm of young people who are going to completely kill this sea. These days, even geniuses have worked so hard. Pakuto's expression was weird, and he couldn't help but complain for a while, how can those people who are so mediocre in their aptitudes be so embarrassed? Originally, they have been unable to keep up with the genius. Not to mention, geniuses are now working harder than them. I'm afraid they are going to be completely desperate, right? Secretly. Even he felt a little bit of pressure, and he could not wait to immediately enter the training and join the group of Navy groups who worked hard to cultivate. Thinking of this, Pakuto couldn't help but let out a wry smile. Obviously. The current atmosphere of the entire warship. He was completely crooked by Lun alone. This is the influence of genius. Chapter 38 The 6 Forms Cultivation is extremely difficult, are you ready? 4 shifts. 3K Chapter 2999th. The 3000. Call. Lun exhaled heavily, dragged his tired body, felt the pain from his muscles, and fell down on the deck next to him. Relax your limbs. Exhausted. Carrying a full weight of 300 kilograms on his shoulders, it brought enormous pressure to Lun. If it weren't for the 300 kilograms load on his shoulders and the mere 3000 push UPS, it would naturally not be difficult for him. Tick-tock. Tick-tock. Sweat dripped slowly from Lun's forehead, slipped down on both sides of his cheeks, and fell on the deck, like a downpour, falling madly. One look. Lun was already sweating profusely. 3000 push UPS with a weight of 300 kilograms made Lun feel his limit. Physically exhausted. He fell into an unprecedented state of weakness. But his strong physical fitness is frantically replenishing his physical strength, allowing him to return to his heyday in the shortest possible time. Although a little tired. However, Lun was deeply intoxicated by the unprecedented sense of fulfillment after training. Every training. All means that their own strength can be effectively improved. This is the speed of strengthening visible to the naked eye. It is for this reason that Lun was able to persevere and practice almost day and night. Just as he was lying on the deck to rest, the system's prompt sounded without warning. A total of gains in this practice: strength plus 0.004, speed plus 0.002, physical strength plus 0.003. After a 100-fold increase in the training effect, the host can obtain strength plus 0.4, speed plus 0.2, stamina plus 0.3. In an instant. As soon as the sound of the system fell, a warm current appeared out of thin air, quickly flushing the internal organs of Lun's body, transforming his body's bones, blood, etc. Lun's physical strength had bottomed out after going through a devil-like training. But at this moment, the warm current that emerged from the system transformed his body, but his physical strength recovered rapidly. Not only did physical strength recover, physical strength, speed, and other attributes have been greatly improved. After a while, the system has been transformed. Lun could feel it become stronger again. He clenched his fists and felt the surging power in his body. Even the tired feeling that had swept his body and mind seemed to be dispelled a lot. Muscle soreness disappeared completely. Every time the devil training, all the negative states of Lun will be swept away with the transformation of the system. And this is the main reason why Lun can keep insisting on the devil's training. He doesn't need to worry at all. Due to excessive training for a while, any hidden injuries and hidden dangers appear in the body. As long as there is a system modification, he will never leave a dark injury due to training. System, bring up the properties panel. Lying on the deck, Lun recovered a little of his mobility, so he meditated in his heart and checked his current attribute panel. Host, Lun. Strength, 24.7, plus 2.1. Speed, 21.5, plus 1.6. Physical strength, 26.2, plus 2. Mental power, 14.1, plus 0.4. Ghost back completion, 10.38%. The overall improvement of the current training effect, 100 times. This is the overall gain that Lun has obtained after going through the devil's training again and again in 4 days. In just 4 days, Lun's strength became a lot stronger. Not only the strength, speed, and physical strength are improved. Lun still felt it. The domineering arrogance that he has mastered is also rising steadily. With the improvement of mental power, the intensity of the overlord's domineering has also become higher and higher. In general, in the past 4 days, Lun didn't waste every minute at all. Starting from the windmill village in the East China Sea, it took 4 full days to sail on the sea, and the entire warship is now infinitely close to the Great Channel. These 4 days have been unimpeded all the way, but I have not encountered too many obstacles. For such a huge warship, no pirate group has the courage to take the initiative to attack. Occasionally on the way, I will encounter some very few pirate groups with a reward of over 10 million. Garp naturally didn't need to do it himself. Instead, it was left to Lun to solve the problem alone. Therefore, down this way. With all the calculations, Lun solved a total of 3 pirate groups with a bounty of over 10 million berry. Sink them all strongly in this endless sea. From the beginning to the end, Lun remained unscathed. It can be seen from this. These so-called big pirates with a bounty of over 10 million berry actually pose almost no threat to Lun. 4 days. The warships crossed nearly 4 or 5 islands one after another. Let the entire warship have already sailed from the East China Sea to the junction of the East China Sea and the Great Channel. The Navy's warships travel through the Great Channel from the East China Sea, and they don't need to go through the reverse current of the upside-down mountain, like the pirates, to enter the Great Channel from the East China Sea. Navy warships have a most special place. That is, can traverse the windless belt. And this is the technology that the pirate ship cannot achieve. The Navy has a peerless scientific genius, Dr. Vegapunk, who is 500 years ahead of current technology. After the research of Dr. Vegapunk, the Navy has created a warship that can traverse the windless belt. Not only can it traverse the windless belt, but it will not be attacked by any sea kings. It is this special technology that makes the Navy's shuttle between the East China Sea and the Great Waterway extremely easy and simple, and there is no need to follow the pirate ship's step-by-step approach to the upside-down mountain. To know the number of sea kings living in the windless zone is simply countless. There are countless great dangers hidden inside. Even the top powerhouses of the sea would not dare to easily steer their ships across the windless belt. However, the Navy has no such concerns. The bottom of the Navy warship uses a very special material, which will not attract the attention of the Sea Kings, and it will also make the Sea Kings deeply disgusted by it, so naturally they will not attack the warship. In this way, there is basically no threat of warships crossing the windless belt, according to the originally planned sailing route. Now, the warship should be about to leave the East China Sea and enter the Great Waterway. Lun put his hands on the deck and stood up slowly from the deck. In the sun, his upper body is covered with muscle lines, his muscles are bulging, and his back is like an indestructible diamond, giving people a visual impact with a very muscular beauty. Every muscle seems to contain a terrifying power that can destroy the world. Like a long-depressed volcano. Once it erupts, it will be rock-shattering. Looking around, Lun looked at Garp, who was sleeping soundly on the sun lounger not far away, and shook his head helplessly. During the time I went to Marine Fando at the Navy headquarters, I was idle anyway. It's better then. Let the old man teach me some useful practical skills for the time being. Just like Navy 6. Lun's eyes flashed, and a look of anticipation appeared on his face. Marin Vando is at the end of the first half of the Great Passage. It takes a lot of time to travel from Donghai to Marin Fando. During this time, Lun didn't want to waste it at all. As for the sixth form of the Navy, he has always wanted to master it. Just do it. Then, holding his inner thoughts, he stepped forward without hesitation. Wake up, Garp, who was sleeping. Raising his hand and rubbing his eyes, Garp's face was still a bit sleepy, his eyelids dropped slightly, he glanced at Lun, yawned, and asked, "What's the matter with the old man?" Looking at Garp with a comfortable face, Lun didn't swerve, just got straight to the point, and said, "Old man, I want to learn the 6 naval styles." Kindness. Garp slowly opened his eyes, a little surprised, and looked at Lun with a little surprise. See Lun's determined face. Think again and again. Garp was a little hesitant, his brows furrowed, and he couldn't help but ask again, "Are you sure?" Before practicing the 6th form of the Navy, the old man had to tell you in advance. The training of the 6th form of the Navy is extremely difficult. Are you mentally prepared? Chapter 39 The First Contact with the 6 Naval Styles. 6-point gun. 5 more. 3K Chapter for Flowers. Ask for a ticket. The 6th form of the Navy is the most widely used combat technique in the Navy. Basically. But all the elites in the Navy have more or less mastered some of the 6 types of the Navy. From this it can be seen that how important is the Navy Type 6 in the Navy. Although the 6 styles can play very little role in high-end battles. But no one can deny that the Navy Type 6 is indeed the cornerstone of the Navy. Can be used to improve the overall strength of the Navy. To know. 2 Color domineering, not everyone can master the cultivation. As such, the importance of the Navy 6th form has become even higher. As long as they practice hard, every Navy can master the 6 naval styles. In this case, there are tens of millions in the Navy, if everyone can master the 6 styles. Unimaginable. What a huge and terrifying force it was. As the founder of the 6th form of the Navy, Garp's mastery of the 6th form is naturally at its peak. In fact, what Garp has mastered is not the Navy 6, but the Navy 9. Only. The other 3 combat skills are too lethal and extremely difficult to cultivate, and they do not have the ability to popularize the entire Navy, so they have to be shortened to the 6th form of the Navy. Have you seen the Pakuto guy? Garp raised his finger and pointed to Pakuto, who was not far away, and said bluntly, "This guy spent 2 years practicing the 6 naval styles, and finally he managed to master all the 6 styles. The reason why I tell you so much is to make your kid mentally prepared. Although the 6th form of the Navy is not as difficult to cultivate as the 2-color domineering, it is also a powerful combat technique that requires many years to master. If you have a contempt for the six forms, then this old man has to advise you not to waste too much time here. If two-color domineering is the cornerstone of the Navy's high-end combat power, so the sixth form of the Navy is the foundation of the naval mid-level combat power. And it is the power that every Navy can master. In the old man's impression, back then, even that kid, King Z, spent a full 4 months in order to cultivate the sixth naval form before he could fully master the sixth naval form. And this is the fastest record for mastering the sixth form in the Navy headquarters. The little ghost King Z is full of talent. Even if he doesn't have that natural devil fruit, he can still be called a top powerhouse. But even him, it took 4 months to cultivate the 6 forms. Garp took a deep look at Lun and solemnly reminded him. Aokiji, Vice Admiral of the Navy Headquarters. Natural frozen fruit ability. Extremely powerful. Belongs to one of the strongest monsters in this sea. Even if he has not yet become a general, King Z's combat power is still very terrifying. Everyone in the Navy can speculate. Aokiji will become an admiral of the Navy headquarters, and it is already a certainty. The old man asks you again, are you sure you still want to learn the sixth form of the Navy? Garp asked. Study. Lun nodded without hesitation. It is good. Garp showed a side smile and continued to say, even if you are talented, you have an unparalleled talent that is rare in a century. But the old man has to remind you. If you want to completely master the sixth form of the Navy, you have to spend at least 3 months. For this, you have to prepare mentally in advance, and don't give up halfway. He is looking forward to it. Lun refreshed the record of Qing Pheasant mastering the sixth naval style. He believes. With the peerless talent of his grandson Lun, isn't it a matter of course to surpass King Z? Certainly. How much can it surpass Aokiji? Then it is unknown. Next. Garp slowly stood up from the sun lounger and brought Lun to the open and spacious deck. Against the golden sunlight scattered in the sky, Garp began to cycle gradually, giving Luep a lot of introductions to the Navy's sixth form. The 6 types of naval forces combine attack, defense, evasion, aerial combat, close combat, and long-distance combat. I can say with certainty that, looking at this sea, there is no actual combat skills that can be compared with our 6 types of naval combat. It also doesn't have any actual combat skills, which can be more comprehensive than the Navy's 6th form. In the future, even if you have mastered the other 2 types of domineering, once you are in battle, the 6th naval style can still bring you a lot of help. 6 moves, as the name suggests, there are 6 moves. Respectively. Melee, finger gun. Fight from afar, Lanjiao. Defense, iron. Attack, shave. Air combat, moonstep. Dodge, paper painting. This is the synthesis of the 6 styles. Once you master the 6 forms, it will also mean that you will no longer have any shortcomings in various battles from now on. All the shortcomings will be made up for by the 6 forms. After speaking, Garp walked over to the fence on the deck of the warship. The steps stopped abruptly. He stood in front of a 30-centimeter thick plank. Next. The old man will let you have a good look at the actual combat effect and destructive power of the Navy's 6th form. See clearly. This is the 6-type finger gun. Gather the strength of the whole body on the index finger, and release a blow with the hardened finger between the electric light and flint. The fingertip has the attack power of a bullet, which can easily penetrate the human body, as fast as a bullet. It is hard to prevent. Words fell. Garp focused his power on his index finger. Then, with one finger, he gently touched the 30-centimeter thick board ahead. Moment. Puff. A faint voice sounded. I see. The 30-centimeter thick wooden board was easily pierced by Garp's index finger, like a bullet, penetrating the entire board and penetrating it completely. Even if Garp seemed to be, he just casually touched his index finger forward. Touch lightly. The board is like a piece of tofu. Got punched with a finger. Except for a bullet-like perforation, there were no traces in the whole process, and the wooden board did not produce any cracks visible. This finger has a very strong penetrating power. All the power in one place. The power did not spill out at all. Therefore, this blow just pierced a hole without causing damage to other positions on the board. Did you see clearly? Garp turned around slowly, looked at Lun with a smile, and continued, this is the effect and destructive power of the 6-type finger gun used in actual combat. More powerful than bullets. And faster. In the next period of time, you can concentrate on practicing the 6-style pointing gun. When you master the finger gun, the old man will teach you other tricks of the 6 forms. As the saying goes, you can't chew too much. Don't be too ambitious, you kid. Garp thinks. Even with Lun's world-shattering talent, if he wants to fully master the finger gun, he probably needs to wait until a week and a half later. By that time, they have all arrived at the Marine headquarters Marine Fando. At that time, Garp will throw Lun directly to the General Zifa and let the other party teach Lun. Although Zifa is not as powerful as Garp, he has the ability to teach the navy that Garp can't match. Finger gun. Lun's eyes narrowed slightly, and he kept reminiscing about the scene in which Garp mobilized his energy and gathered his index finger and pierced the template with one finger. Gradually, he also slowly raised his right hand, raised his index finger, manipulated the power in his body to gather it in the index finger, and concentrated the gathered power on one finger. Everything was going well. At critical moments, Lun could feel that the strength of his index finger was lost. Finally, all this power dissipated. So far, the first use of the finger gun ended in failure. Don't be too hasty. You're still young. Even if it takes half a month to practice the finger gun, it will have little effect on you. Garp laughed and patted Lun on the shoulder. Just when Lun was about to use his finger gun for the second time. Without warning. In vain. The sound of the system sounded from his head. Total obtained in this practice, 6-style finger gun skill plus 0.01. After a 100-fold increase in the training effect, host can get 6-style finger gun skill plus 1. Boom. A completely unfamiliar amount of memory poured into Lun's mind like a trend. His head is like a sponge. Continue to absorb these extra memories in my head out of thin air. These memories. It's all about how to use the 6-type finger gun. It was as if he took out the methods and skills of the 6 forms from other people's heads, and forced them into Lun's head. Thereby, let Lun master the 6-style finger gun out of thin air. Everything is like an innate instinct. Familiar with the road. Unobstructed. This moment. With the complete fusion of the unfamiliar memory generated out of thin air in his head, Lun felt extremely familiar with the use of the 6-style finger spear. This familiarity is like. Has been cast thousands of times like the finger gun. It's like an instinct carved into the bones. Then, with countless memories that just melted into my head. In front of Garp. Without hesitation, Lun used his finger gun again. Chapter 40 Garp, what the heck? Did you learn it by watching it? One more. Close your eyes slightly. According to the memory just melted into my head. Concentrate all your strength on your arms. Then, strength gathers between the index fingers. Concentrate the power continuously. Concentrated to the extreme. Finally, one finger sticks out. Call out. Accompanied by a high-pitched piercing sound. Lun suddenly opened his eyes, and his eyes flashed with a bright light. I see. His index finger was aimed at the 30-centimeter thick plank in front of him, and with lightning speed, he cut through the airflow in the space at an extremely fast speed, and hit the plank ruthlessly. Moment. Puff. A faint thud. The voice sounded, wandering all over the place. The index finger seemed to pierce a piece of tofu. Lun didn't burst out with too much power during the whole process, but he just concentrated his power on the tip of his index finger and touched the board lightly. That's all. However, with this light touch, a finger pierced through the 30-centimeter thick wooden board on the spot, directly piercing the board through a ferocious hole like a bullet hole. A hole the size of an index finger ran through a distance of 30 centimeters, piercing the entire board. The second hole looks like a bullet hole. This appeared in Garp's eyes. Slowly retracting his index finger, Lun looked at Garp and smiled. I think, I should already know how to use the finger gun, and I have mastered the 6-style finger gun. Now. Garp was dumbfounded. He widened his eyes and stared blankly at the second bullet hole-like hole left on the wooden board. Others are stupid. What? What's going on? This kid Lun. Is this mastering the finger gun? I just watched the whole process once, so I have mastered the skill of using the finger gun. How is this possible? Cap was taken aback. He thought. No matter how talented his grandson Lun is, if he wants to completely master the finger gun, it will take at least half a month of training. But finally, he could never have imagined. In just a short moment. As soon as he used the pointing gun, Lun immediately followed suit, and successfully used the pointing gun. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, Garp would never have believed such a bizarre phenomenon. For the first time, I saw the use of the finger gun. Then. It was only a few breaths before and after. The other party has completely mastered the trick of pointing the gun. Just ask. What an astonishing talent is this? Rao is that Garp can't imagine it. This talent is too amazing. The finger spear of the 6th form, although it is not the most difficult to cultivate among the 6th form. However, in just an instant, the finger gun was mastered. This still left Garp in disbelief. Your kid. Could it be that you have been in contact with the Navy 6th form before? Garp's throat was dry, he stared at Lun with wide eyes, and blurted out subconsciously. Heard. Lun couldn't help rolling his eyes. Old man, have I ever been in contact with the Navy 6th form before? Don't you know? You are my guardian. Words fell. Garp just woke up from a dream. Yes. He has always been Lun's guardian. If Lun really had contact with the 6th naval style, then as a guardian, it is impossible for him not to know. So. Today. This kid Lun is indeed the first time he has come into contact with the 6th naval style. It was only the first time I came into contact with the 6th style Navy, and I mastered the 6th style finger gun in an instant. This talent. For a moment, Garp was speechless. Even he couldn't think of any words to describe Lun's amazing talent. Amazing. It's too incredible. Even Garp, who has been able to keep his face unchanged even when faced with life and death countless times, was frightened by the amazing talent displayed by Lun at this moment. Lun, you kid. Surely a genius. A once-in-a-century peerless genius. I hope everyone will support me and subscribe more.